Steve.
It's 5:30 p.m. We have a fairly lengthy meeting tonight, so I'm calling this meeting of the Paris City Council to order. It's 5:30 Monday, June 22nd, 2020. We'll start off with the invocation by Mr. Gene Anderson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Portugal. Everyone stand, please.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for the privilege to live in this great country, and we just pray, Father, for your guidance and direction for our leaders, whether they be our local, state, or national leaders, that, Father, they would act in a way that's pleasing in your sight. And so we pray that you'd give them godly wisdom and understanding as they go about the duties that they have to do. Father, we pray especially tonight for this council as they do the city's business, that you would be with them and guide and direct them. For asking in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. Citizens Forum is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council, step forward. If you're talking about your committee you want to be on, I've got a separate area for that, so please don't come up during the regular Citizens Forum. Anyone wish to address the council, step up, please. Seeing none, I will now close the Citizens Forum. Since we do have several people here who are wishing to address the council about committee positions, and that's a significant number of the people in the room, I'd like to I make a motion to move item number 24 next before we even do the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. So item number 24 is applicant introduction. This is nothing more than an opportunity. It's not mandatory. It's purely optional. But I kind of suggested this, an opportunity for the applicants to introduce themselves to the city council members. And if you have anything to say about yourself, please do so. And we won't do it in any particular order, just like we do Citizens Forum. Anyone wishes to address the council, step up. And let's try to limit it to maybe 2 minutes. I won't hold you firmly to it, but let's try to limit it roughly about 2 minutes so we can keep the meeting under control. Anyone wishing to address the council that's applying for a board, please step forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, the council. And my name is Sandy Kerr. I live at 4400 Smallwood Road in Paris in Lamar County, and I appreciate your consideration for the available position on the PEDC board. I've lived in Lamar County for 10 years, and I run a business here for 10 years. I do understand the importance of the PEDC board. When we, as a company, decided to move to Paris, we reached out to PEDC to look for a location and help with our hiring processes, and they were very instrumental in encouraging us to come to Paris. We started off from scratch, zero customer base, and as of today, we're over multi-million dollars in revenue each year. So I understand I have the relationship background to build a business, to attract people to Paris, to attract people to my company, the marketing. I understand the operations part of it, the financials, and the need to expand and grow our industry and to make additional jobs available. So with that being said, I just wanted to appreciate your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, please.
My name is Bill Strathern. I'm applying for PEDC. You've got my resumes, and I would appreciate it if you'd consider them as well as you could and do appoint me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Curtis Finley. I reside at 554 South Church Street, which is Mrs. Knox's district. And I have previously served on the PEDC and years prior to that in the 80s on the Paris Industrial Foundation before PEDC was elected in with our tax base. So I think this appointment, other than the City Council, is the most important commission that you will appoint. And it needs to be someone of integrity, and it has communication skills, not only with the council, but with the citizens of Paris, with PJC, with the Texas workforce, and to improve all of our qualities of life. So I would appreciate if you would support me, and I'll be here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Josh Bray. I reside at 8097 FM 195, and I'm applying for the PEDC as well. My intention is very clear. This community's been very good to me and my family over the last 41 years that I've lived here, and it's time for me to give something back. The industrial base that we have here is a result of someone else's hard work that came before me, and I've benefited greatly from it. It's my opportunity now to try to do that for someone that's going to be behind me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. My name is Cody Adams, and I'm applying for the Planning and Zoning Commission. I reside at 135 27th Northeast. I have a background in commercial development and bringing medical clinics across the 4 states area. I've worked with planning and zoning, city managers across the 4 states, as well as I do work in property management now as well. So I do hope you take consideration in my application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Austin Anthony. I reside at 4130 Morningside Drive in Paris. I have lived in Paris my entire life other than just to go to school for a few years. I know I'm young, don't have a whole lot of experience with boards. In Paris, I'm on the Keep Paris Working Political Action Committee board, and I'm on the Love Civic Center board. I'm applying for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Just honestly don't have any experience in that, but I think Paris is headed in a great direction, especially downtown. I think we're doing a lot of good things, and I'd like to volunteer my time in any way I can. So after speaking with a couple people that have been on the board of Planning and Zoning, I think it's something that interests me for sure, and something I think I'd be good at. So anyways, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Tim Hernandez. I live at 2365 Wildwood, and I'm reapplying for the position on the PDC board. I'm currently its chairman and its past treasurer for 2 years, and I feel that we have made a lot of progress, and we are in the middle of a lot of current projects that I am currently involved with. And also, we're in the process of hiring our new executive director, and I think that there's a lot to be said for the continuity of that position, especially in my capacity as the chairman, and some of the things that we've discussed with our potential candidate. And so I'm asking for you to consider me for reapplication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Daryl Hawks, and I live out in the Falk community in Lamar County. I've been a resident of Paris and Lamar County for over 40 years. I'm asking for your consideration for a position on the PEDC board. My history, I served on another board of similar size and budget for about 11 years. And I'm to the point in my life now that I would like to give back to my community. My kids have all gone to college, and I came to realization that they probably won't come back to Paris or Lamar County, and that's okay. But there are a lot of kids in our community that need a very robust economy and a robust job market for their future success, and I would really like the opportunity to be able to do that for Lamar County. Thank y'all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Talisha Ross. I go by Ty. I'm from Texarkana, Texas. I've been a resident here in the Lamar County for a little over a year now. I have been a big advocate for the underserved in my community. I have created 2 outstanding accredited neighborhood associations. Also, I've sat on 4 different boards. I'm actually applying for the Planning and Zoning and also the Housing Authority. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Cullum. I'm a resident in Morningside, which is Councilwoman Portugal's location. I graduated from Chisholm High School in 1998 with my soon-to-be husband, and then we spent many, many years outside of Paris while he was in the United States Navy. We came back because we wanted our children to have a better education than what they were getting, so we brought them back to Chisholm. They've both since graduated. And I am now a teacher's aide working on my certification and master's in education. I'm applying for the Library Advisory Board. I've actually applied a couple times and have not made it. So I'm excited for the opportunity to actually speak on my behalf of why I want to do it. My mother has severe dyslexia and isn't able to teach us to read as children. So she brought us to the library. And we received a very good education at the library in all different formats through not only reading programs, but they had small films that they would show to children. It was a place where we could go and feel welcome and not feel judged because our mother had learning disabilities. And I want to ensure that children in this area have the same opportunity as well as adults. In this day and age, I think we need the opportunity to be able to think for ourselves. And the library is one of the best places to get started with that. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Glee Emmett. I live at 3065 Aspen, around the corner from our mayor. Mrs. Portugal is my councilperson. Today I'm reapplying to be on the Main Street Board. As you know, let me back up. I've only lived here for 42 years. I'm totally invested in downtown. I own 2 businesses downtown and a loft, and I would like to be reappointed to the Main Street Board. I'm also serving as the president currently of the Paris Downtown Association, and I'm a liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Emmett.
Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is David Taylor. This is regarding the airport board. I've really enjoyed working on that board the past 2 years. Have done a lot of work. Feel like it's a perfect fit for me and a way for me to give back to the community. As you can see on the application, I mean, I have a tremendous enthusiasm for aviation and have attained quite a few FAA certificates in that regard. But I would like to continue on the board, continue the work we've done, and to assist the City Council in the oversight of that board. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
How are you doing? Good evening. My name is Steve Hellman. I am a resident of 155 49th Street, Southeast in Paris. The library to me is a very important thing, and that's why I'm applying to the Library Advisory Board. My kids, I've pretty much raised them since they were about 2-3 years old. Coming to the library helped instill a passion for reading, something that I share as well. And I really want to make sure that next generation of kids gets to experience that. And one of the concerns I have as we're moving to the technology age, how do we adapt our library and our reading and our learning to resonate in both the media and in the relevance to the younger generation? So my background, I'm an electrical engineer, so I've got a pretty good understanding of the IT and the technology background, so I think I can bring that to provide a unique perspective to that. And I've also got a good background in capital management and infrastructure through some of my work experience. So anyway, so that's why I'm interested, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Ken Coles. I live at 3935 Brandon Place. That's here at Morningside. I'm here to get approved to be reappointed to the Buildings and Standards Commission. For those who don't know, I have served on City Council 40 years ago. I've been on appraisal district representative for the city, and I've been on various boards in the city, and I'd like to be reappointed because the code enforcement in this town needs a lot of assistance. We have some problems on there, and I am a problem solver, not a problem maker, but I like to be more of that and to continue in that field. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to, here comes somebody.
Mayor, Councilman, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Tanner Dobrovolsky, and I live on 833 South Church Street. I applied for a Main Street Advisory Board. I have a lot of background with the community in Carroll, or South Lake at Carroll ISD. I worked there as a safety coordinator for the district, and I ensured that with any activities that the district did, we made sure that we had the strictest security as well as safety for the children that were there, as well as I helped plan and assist with any and all activities after, during, and before school activities. And I hope that you guys consider me to be on the board. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James O'Brien. Most of y'all know me. I'm applying for the PDC and as well as planning and zoning. I'm currently on the planning and zoning. I have a 100% attendance rate. I think that I've only been here 6 years, but I have the understanding of Paris and how it's worked for the last 40 years. I've worked very hard to try to come to understand the city. When I first moved here, I just wanted to be left alone, come here and start a business and participate in the community. But through a series of events, I decided I needed to participate because this town doesn't need just management, it needs leadership. And I found a way to do that on planning and zoning and work with city council in doing that. I think that Paris is growing. Whether we want it to or not, Paris is growing. And we can either sit back and let the world run over us, or we can lead the way to the future. And it doesn't always mean looking at how other people have done it. I have worldwide experience. I've lived all over the world, and I'm trying to bring some of that outside influence into Paris, not necessarily to change Paris to be like the rest of the world, but to let Paris understand that that's what's coming, and so we can preserve the past and proceed toward the future. Most of y'all know I'm pretty outspoken. I'm opinionated. There's probably a few other words to describe me, but once I have my opinion, I'm going to let you know why. And I think that we need somebody like that on the PDC board. And I kind of have that experience on planning and zoning. Thank you.
One thing I'll add, Dr. O'Brien. In your application, it said you preferred planning and zoning, but based on my conversation with you, that was an error. You actually, if you get on the PEDC, you'll get off the planning and zoning.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson. How are y'all this evening? I'm kind of in the same boat. I've been here since 2003. I live at 3206 Bond Street. Kind of wanted to be left alone too. Kind of got thrown into this, and I think being on the board, I'm going for planning and zoning. To give you a little bit of background, why I would say that is for over 20 years, I was a project manager for a nationwide general contractor. So I've been in planning and development all over the United States. Quite familiar with that. The last part of my career, I was worked for a school district as a maintenance supervisor and retired from there. So I do know a lot bit about planning and zoning. Been all over the country doing it, and Paris is changing. It's changed in the past couple of years that I've been involved with the city. So y'all have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Mayor and members of the council, thank you for allowing us all the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Reeves Hayter, and I've applied for the Building Standards and/or the Board of Adjustment. Just one, not both. I had the opportunity to serve the city several years ago on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I was there for probably 20 years, I think, in one capacity or another. And from that experience, I think I have a pretty good idea of what would be involved in both of these committees. My background, I am a professional engineer. I've retired from my company a couple of years ago, and I'd like to take this opportunity now that I have a little free time to give back to the community. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close this section, and we're going to vote on boards quite a bit later in the meeting, so if y'all want to stay, you're certainly welcome to, but if you want to leave and find out tomorrow, that's fine, or later on this evening, so that's entirely up to y'all. So next brings us to the consent agenda, and I think, Ms. Portugal, you had something you wanted to pull out of the consent agenda?
Yes, please. Item 6D, the minutes of the Housing Authority.
Okay.
If, I don't know what page that is in our backup, but I just made some notes. Ms. Ellis, can you tell us what page that is? The minutes of the,
And if you scroll down past page 16, you'll see the minutes for the housing authority.
okay, page 16.
Start there and then scroll down. You're going to be in that same packet of information.
It's about the 7th page, something like that.
Specifically, they're incomplete, thank you. Does not, it says who was present, but does not say who was absent. There were, it tells a quorum was present. The minutes were approved. Then new business, occupancy report on public housing in Section 8 was given to the board, but it doesn't give you any details. Financial report was discussed and reported to the board with bank statements and graphs for PH and Section 8. No bank, nothing financial was included in the minutes. Annual inspection repairs, down, but no details again. New requirement for government employees, that was not, no detail was there. And resolutions, a 5-year plan submission, but the plan was not included. So our attorney's not here, thank you, Mayor, but is it the place of the attorney to let them know the minutes are incomplete, or you, Ms. Ellis?
I can contact them, email them tomorrow, and let them know that they need to go back and do correction and give details and attachments. And then we'll bring them back.
Great, thank you, because it's taxpayers' money. And also, that was March, and this is June, I believe. So I don't know where the rest of the minutes are.
They probably had some meetings that they didn't actually meet.
Okay.
Boards where they canceled their meetings, or maybe they had one in March and then they just now are meeting again.
Okay.
But I will get those, I will send them.
It does seem to be a long time after March for the minutes to be coming in front of the council. I agree with. Okay. And COVID may have had something to do with it.
Yes, it definitely did.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody? Yes.
I do. On the emergency meeting of the city council, I was not in attendance, and they have me listed in attendance, so I was not. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Well, I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda with the recommendations of Mayor Pro Tem Portugal here and the changes that Ms. Knox requested.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Item number, let's see.
So many
Num-
pages.
Item number 13, conduct a public hearing, discuss and act on an ordinance considering the petition of Rondo Homes to amend an existing planned development district site plan in the Primrose Number 2 Edition, lots 3 and 4, Block B, LCAD property ID 111018 and 111019, located in the 4200 block of Primrose. Ms. Easton?
Thank you. The applicant is proposing to build a single-family home with traditional style setbacks to the lot lines in the Primrose subdivision, but that is in a planned development district, and they had a site plan adopted with that zoning case that allows the houses to be built right on the property line. And because this applicant is proposing a different style home where it's more traditional, centered on the lot, it requires a site plan approval process. So at planning and zoning meeting, we did have 2 residents come and speak with just questions. They were not opposed to the zoning, to the site plan modification. They just wanted to make sure that it was for a single-family home. Planning and zoning did approve of this change 5-0, and staff is not opposed to it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions to Ms. Easton?
That is in my district, and I know every resident on that street, and they're not in opposition to the larger home.
Okay, I have to have a public hearing on this, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this, come forward.
Hi there, James O'Brien. I just wanted to reiterate on the planning and zoning that everything went very well. We all looked at the detailed maps and images and went beyond what we're supposed to do and looked at the aesthetics of the home and what they're trying to do. There's no problem here. There's not going to be really any change. Everything coincides with the way it needs to be for that neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, the public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion on this? Sounds good to me. I looked at looks like it's very reasonable.
I'll make a motion to approve as written if nobody else wants to discuss.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next, conduct a public hearing, discuss and act on an ordinance considering the petition of Wilson Brothers LLC to amend an existing planned development district site plan in the Paris Town Crossing Addition, Lot 6A, Block 1, LCAD property ID 401417, located in the 1300 block of North Collegiate Drive. Ms. Easton.
This is a similar case with a site plan modification within a planned development zoning district. The Paris Town Crossing Addition, which is the development where Home Depot is located, had a site plan approved back when that development came through, and the property just to the west of the Home Depot was intended to be another large big box development, either like a retail strip center or something of equivalent size as the Home Depot. A portion of that lot, which is lot 6, has been purchased by Ashley Home Store, and they are planning a new Ashley Furniture on that site, but because it's different than the original site plan, it does require a site plan approval for them to move forward with their project. Planning and zoning approved this 5-0, and staff is in support.
Was there any public opposition to it?
No, but we did receive one input letter back in favor of this approval.
Great. All right, let's get the public hearing out of the way. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to talk about this, come up, please. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion. We've got no problem with this. With no discussion, I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Item number 15, discuss and possibly act on removal of director or directors from the Paris Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors pursuant to Section 4.11 of the bylaws of the Paris Economic Development Corporation. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Paris Economic Development Corporation, 5 affirmative votes are required in order to remove a director from the PEDC Board of Directors. I'll make a motion to take this item off the table. We have to do that first. Second, all in favor? Okay, it's off the table. This is Mr. Pilgrim's item, and so I'll let him discuss it. Before we get started, I just want to I want everybody to understand, everybody in this town, we're working for the benefit of this town, and I know everybody is. So I would appreciate it if we keep everything factual and that everything be all above board and civil. Okay, so go ahead with that. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Pilgrim.
So I have a prepared statement, and it's a little lengthy here, but hang in there with me. On May the 14th, 2020, I was contacted by a few concerned business leaders in town over a relationship issue we had developed from a PEDC meeting 2 days prior. This was on, the original meeting was on May the 12th via Zoom, if I remember correctly. The Paris Economic Development Corporation chairman had dropped the ball by not timely contacting a local business to explain what had been done in the executive session meeting and the vote. On May 15th, to mend the relationship with the company and executives, Chairman Hernandez, Mahir Bakaj, myself, Paula Portugal, and Grayson Path were on a Zoom call to apologize for our negligence. The call mended the communication problems from 2 days prior, but exposed a serious problem that I thought needed to bring forward. I was shocked to find out that a single board member, Dr. A.J. Hashmi, had initially reached out to a local manager of this company, then to offer a helping hand during the economic downturn without their request. This company is financially stable, solvent, and was well prepared to weather an economic downturn. Even after being told by the local leaders that they were not leaving Paris but were only downsizing until new contracts were in place to continue operations, Hashmi continued to tell the local manager that PDC could help them. After local calls were made, he then got EDC Chairman Tim Hernandez and Mayor Clifford to join him on a call with the corporate headquarters to offer the PED some assistance. Clifford and Hernandez were not knowledgeable, to my knowledge, that these initial calls were taking place, and was sold the idea that we had to help them as they were leaving. Again, they were never leaving, simply downsizing, due to a downturn in business. After this Zoom meeting and visiting with the local manager, I asked Hernandez to review this action, how it had transpired, which he did. At first, he was clear that Hashmi had acted without authority and had not disclosed all his prior actions to the board, and he was going to call a vote for Hashmi to resign. Even stated to me that he had the votes within the board to do so. Mr. Hernandez was knowledgeable of the wrongdoings and was frustrated as I was. I'm not sure what changed, but he went from frustrated to non-committal on the issue. In fact, he was offering his own resignation, which he did over the phone. I told him that was not his fault and he should not fall on the sword from someone else's mistakes. From then on, this issue has been a non-issue, and it was all swept under the rug. This was evident with the calculated statements at the June 16, 2020 PEDC meeting, where my name was brought up and I was rejected by Chairman Hernandez to make a statement. Interesting way to treat a council member that was appointed as liaison to the board. Another point that came to my attention, and I'll refer to Ms. Madewell's article on the 12th, I believe it was, of June. After multiple calls back and forth with the mayor, and two of the EDC, the director, chairman and Dr. Hashmi, they come to some numbers, and I say that in the sense of, if I ask you 100 times, I'm going to give you some money, eventually you go, okay, well, how much you want to give me? And that's the way it was kind of put. So after this EDC meeting, this would have been on May the 12th, the EDC voted down 4-1, Hashmi being the only 4 vote. Now, we're still in negotiations with the company at large. There was a $1.5 million incentive package. It was voted down 4-1. After this was discovered, he told the Paris News, and I'll remit to Ms. Madewell's article on June 14th, Sunday, June 14th, that he had divulged information through this closed-door meeting. I'll remit to Article 9 of the Code of Ethics and Conduct for City Council employees, boards, commissions, and committees from the 2011-025 ordinance. I refer you to Chapter 2 of Article 9, and the definition of an officer shall mean any member of the City Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Paris Economic Development Corporation, the Board of Adjustments, the Building Standards Commission, the Paris Historical Commission, and any member of board, commission, or committee established by this ordinance, charter, or state law that has final approval authority over any application, permit, license, or other city approvals, provided no member is an advisory board, shall be deemed an officer of the city. So an officer is exactly that. No city officer, employee, or advisory board member, or their spouse, shall knowingly make an unauthorized disclosure of any confidential information gained by reason of the position of the officer, employee, or advisory board member concerning property, operations, policies, or affairs of the city, or such confidential information. The only time, it says this subsection shall only be precluded. Disclosure can only be done when there's an investigation or a proceeding. And this is not a court. We're not in a court proceeding. The PDC board is exactly that. It's a board, plural, not singular. When a person decides to violate the proper processes and procedures of an organization, he or she must step down. If he or she leaks confidential information, he or she must step down. I have asked Dr. Hashmi to step down to retain good faith in our EDC, the company, and our town. Dr. Hashmi was not receptive to my suggestion. And in fact, when I called him on the Monday before the June 6th vote, he belligerently yelled at me on the phone and threatened me like I was one of his subordinates. This type of action should never be tolerated on any appointed position and are not the characteristics of a representative that I want for Paris, Texas. Article 2 in the bylaws and purposes, the corporation is a nonprofit corporation specifically governed by the Texas Development Corporation Act of 1979 as amended. The purpose of the corporation is to promote, assist, and enhance economic development as permitted by this act. Section 4.03, general duties of the board. The board, again, I say that in plural, shall develop qualification parameters for the evaluation of economic development. So, whenever a company that we think may need help, the first thing that should happen is the 5 board members, now we may be going to 7 later, the 7, if it's going forward, should make the decision on the first initial phone call. Not an individual, not 2 individuals. The whole board should have a plan and organize and direct that. The points are, Dr. Hashmi reached out to employers without consulting his board. These are the local calls. Initially, he told me, and I looked in his memo notes, that he had not done that. In an article written by Miss Madewell, picking on Miss Madewell today, I'm sorry. If you look on the article in the business section, Paris Councilman pushes for EDC director removal over incentive, you can read, he told the Paris News on Saturday that he had contacted local officials only to get a phone number. Now, that's just came about Sunday. So, my point is, if no phone calls would have ever been made and a plan would have been initiated by the board to begin with, I don't think we'd have pledged funds to this company. It was mud on our face. We had to apologize. We had to go and save face with this company because we had went out and told them that we could do something that we could not produce. We didn't even have the financial ability to do it. Now, just a few short days ago, we as a council briskly asked for the resignation of a fellow council member for one Facebook post. This was predetermined and was done in 5 hours. Ms. Knox was the only person that was not into that. The post stated, if you don't like America, why don't you leave? If it's that bad, no, why don't you leave America if it's so bad? And it was photoshopped back up to the top. That council member, at first glance, you looked at it and it was directed to the national issue we were facing with George Floyd's death. If you really look into it, he had wrote a post on someone that he knew that he used to work with below that post. Had nothing to do with the George Floyd initial post. Photoshopped, put in there, asked for to be censured, and asked for his resignation in 5 hours. In closing, and my problem with that is as I've brought this to light, the stories have been all over the board. And the initial phone calls I called, I said, whose idea was this? When we got on that call on May 15th, that company said, y'all came to us. And I said, what are you talking about? Ms. Portugal was on that call, Mahir was on that call, as well as Chairman Hernandez. I said, what do you mean we came to y'all? He said, yeah, y'all came to us. The bill of goods was sold that they sent us numbers. We had been to them. We had called them. So, in closing, I'm doing what I think is right for the City of Paris, the PEDC, and the Paris City Council. I was appointed as liaison to the EDC back in February to help the PEDC and our council communicate and grow our local job market. We as council members, board members, and city representatives must have a fiduciary responsibility to our community and call out wrongdoing, no matter how bad it hurts. I hope and pray Dr. Hashmi will, and I have zero hard feelings about how this played out. I will have got the full statement. But that was my initial call on the deal, and the way it was presented to me was it was originally, no phone calls were ever made. There was an initial phone call with the mayor and Chairman Hernandez and Dr. Hashmi, and no other calls had been made. I called the local business manager here for that company, and he had stated to me that, in fact, Mr. Hashmi had reached out to him. Mr. Hashmi said he never did. He has since told the Paris newspaper that he had, only to get a phone number. That was one issue I had. I think that, especially in harsh economic times like we are in today, that, $400,000 is a lot of money to the EDC. And $400,000 is not a lot of money to a big company. And we didn't retain any jobs. If you've read the newspaper, we're going to keep 50 in that deal, and that's about it. We're not keeping 500. 500 people got furloughed. So that's my fault with the whole issue. Humility. Mr. Hernandez apologized on that call that he had made some mistakes of not calling them promptly after that deal, and I exude confidence in that. I think that's a hard thing. Humility is a hard thing to walk up and say, I apologize and I did something wrong. And when I called this out, there was no humility. And it's kind of a saddening thing, but that's where I am. If I can answer any questions from the city council, I'd be happy to answer anything I know.
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
First of all, Councilman Clayton, comparing Mr. Platta's situation with the situation with George Floyd and a man losing his life is inappropriate for this situation. This is not nobody losing their life. This is about removing somebody from a board. So I don't think that comment should have been in, because we're not talking about George Floyd or Mr. Platta. That has been dealt with. So that's the past. We don't need to rehash the past. In good faith, with the lack of communication within the PEDC and communication within council members, I cannot vote to remove a member due to many discrepancies of different conversations, even among council members, and someone on the council even spreading or even speaking of disbanding the PEDC. That's ridiculous. We can't disband the PEDC, and that was mentioned to someone that's on PEDC. We talk about, Councilman Clayton talked about speaking of conduct and ethics. Well, we as a council, we need to be held by those same standards when we're discussing things.
And we are held by those ethics.
We are, but we're doing some of the things that we're accusing Dr. Hashmi of doing, okay? And I said we because I'm part of this team. I'm not sure where all the alleged detailed information that you spoke about, where it came from, or who has an agenda. I have no idea. You also talked about conversations that you had with board member Hashmi and himself. Did all these conversations happen? I have no idea. I don't know if it's true or not. So there's always three sides. Your side, my side, and the truth. And I'm not saying nobody is lying. I'm just saying there is not enough detail, and there's a whole lot of accusations. And I actually attended a PEDC meeting last week, or maybe this week. I'm getting old. And, I listened to Dr. Hashmi, and nobody literally went against what he said, and I think people had the opportunity to speak. So he had dates and times, and I don't know if he's even given those over, these phone records. I have no idea. But we're wanting to vote tonight, and we don't even have all the information. And I don't want to ruin a man's reputation in a community on things that he said, she said, they said. Even though if we got recordings, I think more people knew about everything that was going on than they want to admit. Even some of the PEDC members didn't know what was going on. And that's not good because it's a lack of communication within PEDC. And we're talking about adding PEDC members. We got to make sure we're communicating within each other. So I'm just not sure, because I just feel like, even though you had a very good detailed presentation just now, It was good, but I don't know what all really happened. So in good faith, I can't ruin a man's reputation in a community. And I do feel that Mr. Hashmi loves his community. I do feel that he wants the best for our community. So in good faith, we all got to be forward, upfront, and include people in conversations, and backdoor conversations don't need to be happening. People need to be upfront, and we need to handle things according to the way we were elected as elected officials, what we're supposed to do. Like I say, we are held to the same standards, ethics, and integrity, and all that, and we need to keep it that way. I'm really disappointed in this whole situation. I really hate it had to go public like this because, again, I don't know who have a hidden agenda. Do we just want Hashmi off of it because we don't like what he said to us 10 years ago or 3 years ago? I have no idea. So I can't vote to remove somebody off when, even though your detailed information was detailed, I don't know what's truth and what's not.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. We have a couple options here. Dr. Hashmi can come up and address the council if you wish.
I would like to speak also first.
Hang on, sit tight. Ms. Hughes wants to speak.
Of course, I've served on the PDC board, know how that goes, and at that time, Dr. Hashmi was the sitting mayor. I think he's done great things for the city. I think just like all of us, you serve and you want to do what's best for the city. And I wholeheartedly think 100% that Dr. Hashmi operates in that manner, professionally as a doctor, as a mayor, and as a citizen. Now, when I got the phone call about this, the $400,000 to Turner had already been decided, to whoever city council that knew, to whoever PEDC members that knew. But when you got the call from the businessman, which whoever that is, we hadn't heard any names, how did they get information before anybody else? So, I mean, whoever those businessmen are. And then, it was several PDC members that hadn't still heard anything about it, the phone calls, until the presentation was made for the 1.5 in that meeting. When I got the call, it was after the meeting after that, and I spoke with Dr. Hashmi. He explained to me his records or recognition of what happened. When I hung up with Dr. Hashmi, I called Mayor Clifford. Mayor Clifford said the same thing that Dr. Hashmi said. I hung up with Mayor Clifford. I called Tim Hernandez. Tim told me the exact same story. So, or if those were the three parties on the call, and I asked specific questions, who promised the 1.5, and no money was promised to no one. So, then if all three of those business leaders and community leaders, as the mayor, Tim as chairman, and Dr. Hashmi as a board member, they all know the laws and ethics of what we should do. And if they all three agreed that no laws or anything was violated, then I can't take anyone's word that wasn't on the call. Now, I think it would be wrong to call Turner and ask them what happened because they were the only other party on the phone. So if all three representatives from the city of Paris agreed that no rule or anything was violated, then I don't even know why we're discussing this, because all three are in agreement. And now I understand with lengthy conversations with you that you said it was Hashmi's idea. And
I asked both the mayor and Tim Hernandez May 15th at probably 11 a.m. when I got off the call with the company after our apology stuff that we had to do. And I called and I said, whose idea was it to call him? And Mayor Clifford and Mr. Hernandez said both the same thing, Hashmi. And I said, that's odd, because the way the book of goods was sold, the 1.5 million promised to anybody is nothing in my statement. I'm not worried about who promised who anything.
But that's my question to you is, on what basis are you wanting to, because you said something about
Exactly. Yep.
leaking information.
I would love to.
What
So if
leaking
you look-
information? Hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. Because you're saying he leaked information of the vote. All votes are public. So nothing was leaked coming out of executive session. The vote that you're saying that was leaked was done in open session.
The vote was not leaked. The vote was done in open
Well,
session.
what was leaked? is what I'm asking.
Information within the executive session was leaked to Ms. Madewell. Negotiations were still going on. There was nothing done. They were still negotiating. They had done 1.5. We can't do that. They voted it down. 4-1.
Well, they voted it down in open session, not in executive
They had an
session.
executive session.
You can't
meeting.
vote in executive session.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. I'm not worried about the vote. The way that there was information leaked to the newspaper about who, what, when, where, and why, and there were still negotiations being tacted in that deal. You cannot legally or ethically, within our statute, do that. You cannot walk out of an executive session and expel confidential information to the public within that statute. I've got a copy.
No,
if you'd like
that's
to see it.
understandable. I'm saying
The
what
vote doesn't-
information
The vote doesn't
to be
matter. It was
exact.
after the vote, the phone was picked up and was directed to Ms. Madewell, and if you look in her article, she wrote that. So I don't care about promising money. There was no money, nobody walked up and said, oh man, I promise we're gonna give you $1 million. That has never been my deal. The deal is, we went after a company thinking that they came to us. They never came to us. They were never leaving. He was told that, and he still pushed the issue. He then drug Mayor Clifford and Chairman Hernandez in on this deal.
Okay, but that's my example to you, that if anything was done wrong, just like I explained to you, if I decided to rob a bank and I talked you into getting in the car with me, then you would be just as guilty of robbing the bank with me, no matter what, even if I lied to you
If you're
about going
knowingly, if you're saying, oh, we're going to rob a bank, sure. Again, this is not a criminal court. If this was criminal, if this was against the law, it would not be here. It would be in a court.
But that's
We're a
not-
judge of ethics here. We appoint board members on these different committees to do what is right and ethically right. And we follow our ordinance.
But you're saying
And
it's
there-
his fault for having an idea. It was just an idea.
The procedures even state in our bylaws that you're supposed to go with the board first. There
That-
were two board members that didn't even know about it.
That's my point, that you had, that point that Tim Hernandez, his initial call was to Tim to contact them.
His
not
initial
him
phone call
contacting
was to
them.
the local manager.
Well, I don't know that. All I can go by is what talking
Let's
to Tim.
take that. Let's say
So, hold on.
that.
So we're gonna let Tim. I mean, we can go through this all day.
That's fine.
But I would not prefer to do that or drag anybody in it, because I mean, he needs 5 votes. I'm not voting for it. She's not voting for it. So we're at 4. So I don't see no need to drag anybody else through the record or through the mud.
Hey, that's fine with me. We can vote on it and we can put it on the public records. All we can do.
That's all we can do.
All right, any of the council members have any we can have a discussion. I can allow Dr. Hashmi to speak, and then we can have some more discussion. It's at your discretion. Do y'all want to say something before Dr. Hashmi speaks or after?
I'll go ahead and speak.
Go ahead.
Well, I have a great deal of respect for both you, Councilman Pilgrim, and for you, Dr. Hashmi. You both have really served our community well. I was kind of upset by this whole thing as well, and what I ended up falling back on was the Paris Economic Development Council meeting where this was discussed. And I made up my mind that I would vote according to what the Paris Economic Development Council voted. And they decided that there was nothing inappropriate that happened. And so by virtue of honoring the people that we put on the PEDC, I'm going to honor their opinion and their service. And if they do not believe that there was anything done, then I'm going to go with what they said. And that's, I was there at the meeting, and none of them spoke out and agreed with any charges or anything. So that's how
Ms. Portugal, you have anything you want to say?
Well, I'm in a perplexed position, Dr. Hashmi, because when you served on this council, I think honorably, you called on the PEDC to have more, to be more transparent, to be more fiscally responsible, and to have more oversight, that this council would have more oversight over the board. And I've just not seen that from you since your position on the board. You've been resistant to that. So we share the same goals, though, I do believe, that we want more oversight, more transparency, and more fiscal responsibility. But I was spent an hour on a Zoom meeting with, again, Councilman Pilgrim, our city manager, board members. Mahir was there, Chairman Hernandez was there, and they were, after asking for an apology and smoothing the ruffled feathers, we had a good discussion. The executive retired president, Roland Toops, said to all of us on that meeting, "We didn't come to you. You came to us and offered us money." They had every intention of holding 50 jobs here, and then when orders come back in for their business, they would reopen. So we paid them $400,000 to do what they planned anyway. And I don't think that that's fiscally responsible or conservative. I think that's $400,000 that we could use better in another way. Last Thursday morning, Chairman Hernandez, Mr. Path, and I met in this room for almost an hour with Stevie Toops, Warren, what's his name?
Landry.
Thank you. Who said they were old? I am too. Trey Glasscock and Brian, the manager here, and vice president. We visited, had a very pleasant visit, but Stevie Toops, president of Turner, reiterated again that they never had any intention of completely pulling out of Paris. Their intention was always to keep 50 employees until the orders started coming back in for their product. So again, we paid them $400,000 for something they were going to do anyway. And I'm concerned when we spend taxpayers' dollars in that way. Also, the Texas Open Meetings Act says that knowingly disclosing a certified agenda or tape recording or information of a closed meeting to a member of the public is not a crime to discuss what went on in an executive session, but may subject you to a civil suit. I don't want this to become personal, and I think some of our council members have made it personal. I respect you, Dr. Hashmi, and I respect your service to this community. And I am asking the same thing of you that when you served on this council, you asked of the PEDC board. More oversight, more fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, I guess, go ahead, Dr. Hashmi. I'll let you come up and speak now.
First of all, thank you for giving me the time. I want to make a couple of things very, very clear. The only phone call made to the local person was after I had discussed with Mayor Clifford and Mr. Hernandez, and was only to get in touch with the executives. That's number one. Number two, I appreciate you commenting on the responsibility. I'm only going to read you the letter that Turner had sent. I will not bore you with the entire discussion because I can give you the exact dates and times that were called. There were no other phone calls made by me at all. I completely deny them. The only phone call locally was when we called the local plant manager, since I didn't have the number to get in touch. And that was after Mr. Hernandez can confirm it, only after Mr. Hernandez asked me to do it, not without his permission. Number two, that same day, Mr. Hernandez can tell you that I even asked, should we call the board first? But since we did not have a director, he said that it is not required, there is nothing being discussed other than help. And if you were present in the meeting, the very first meeting that we had, in that I had clearly mentioned, when somebody said, I clearly mentioned we are the ones who called them. It was never denied. I'm going to just read you a little letter which is written by Mr. Landry, and this was sent to us. We have reviewed our costs to keep the nucleus of staff which will keep our Paris fabrication facility as a viable entity until the end of this year. This requires $3.85 million in order to sustain the operation for 7 months with no immediate work on horizon. The offer of tax relief, energy cost assistance, and regional competitiveness incentives are indeed items but would be important in future. That was the only thing that was discussed on the Zoom meeting. In the end, he writes down, we know we operate in a cyclic business and know the business will return at some point for survivors. We need your assistance to survive the crisis. This is their letter. It was not something that we did. Number two, as far as addressing disclosure.
When was that letter dated?
This letter is dated April 15th.
And that was an email?
I'll give it to you.
No, I've seen it. Is it an email?
Yes, it is an email sent to myself, Mr. Hernandez, and Mayor Clifford.
Thank you.
Also, as far as disclosure is concerned, Ms. Madewell is sitting there. I did not disclose any information of the executive session that could not be disclosed. I'm very familiar with the Open Meetings Act. I'm very familiar. I was the mayor for 5 years. I've been on the council of what can be disclosed or not disclosed. First of all, this was not a new company coming. And the only thing that was disclosed to Ms. Madewell was, you can ask us what we voted for in the open session. They were, as respected council member Pilgrim is saying, that there was a vote taken in the executive session of 4-1. There was no vote taken.
I never stated there was a vote taken in executive session. The vote was
Well,
taken
you said
in
that
open
it was
session.
instead of going into an argument on this, you said there was a 4-1 vote with Dr. Hashmi voting, everybody voting against and Dr. Hashmi voting in favor. That there was no such vote. Mr. Hernandez is here. You can look back at the meetings and see where
That's what
that
was put in the. That's what was put in the news article that you'd stated to her.
I'm just telling you what was in the meeting or not in the meeting. At that meeting, there was no vote taken.
Okay.
I'm not responsible for what the paper writes or doesn't write.
I understand.
Number two is, at no point was any money or any particular person's opinion which was discussed in the executive session given out to Ms. Madewell. The only thing was, we were being criticized to begin with that Michael Paris was discharged, and there was no statement by PEDC. When I was asked, I said, you asked the question, we will answer it. Other than that, I did not disclose to Ms. Madewell 400,000 or 1.5 million or X or Y. The only thing I disclosed is, whenever we decide, you can question us on it. She's sitting right here, you can ask her. There is a whole lot of things, other things that I can say, because I have every record of every phone call that was made. There was not a single time that I initiated a phone call without the permission of my chairperson. So with that, instead of boring you, if somebody wants to look at it, I have every record of every discussion that was done, and I'll be glad to provide it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to wrap this up, and first off, I know everybody thinks they're doing what's right for the city of Paris. I've worked with Clayton long enough to know that for a fact. I've enjoyed working with every single council member. I hate to see a little things like this pop up, but nonetheless, when you feel passionate about something, you feel passionate about it, and I get that. Personally, I don't know whether I'm not even sure whether anything was done wrong. I'm not convinced that anything was done wrong at all. For me to kick someone off a committee, to my knowledge, in recent history, we've only kicked one person off a committee, and I believe he's in prison right now. I would vote to kick someone off a committee if I thought that person was corrupt, if I thought that person was intentionally trying to harm the city, or if I thought that person was a danger to others. Those are the reasons that I would kick someone off a committee. So this doesn't rise to that level anywhere close. Dr. Hashmi has given 6 years on the council, 5 of which were mayor. Believe me, I understand it's a difficult job, and it indicates a tremendous commitment to the city. So I'm not going to say who's right, who's wrong. I'd like to get this behind us, and I'd like to move on. So having said that, anybody else have any more comments?
Yes, I have one quick one. Even with this, I mean, I've voted on the most out of this council on things that I disagree with, but we still work together to get through after a vote. So, I mean, this is nothing personal with Clayton. Me and Clayton have talked several times about this situation. We will continue to work together throughout after this situation. So, I mean, as far as a council, and I'm concerned that we're still one council serving Paris, Texas. And even though we might disagree on something, that's just why we have the democracy of voting. So, I mean, that's my point on it.
To me, this isn't personal to me at all. I know Councilman Portugal said we may take this, this is nothing personal. This is about doing what's right. And as long as I feel that I'm doing what's right, you know, that's my job and my commitment to the city of Paris. So any decision that I make as a council member, it is not personal. And if it was, I don't need to be here.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Pilgrim?
No, I'm ready.
All right. Well, discussion's ended. If anybody wants to make a motion, they may. If not, we can move on.
I make a motion to remove Dr. Hashmi from the EDC.
Do we have a second or not? With no second, then it dies for lack of a second. Okay. Next item is number 16. Discuss and possibly act on a resolution approving a request by the Board of Directors of the Paris Economic Development Corporation to amend the bylaws of the corporation, including but not limited to A, increasing the number of directors from 5 to 7, B, requiring City Council approval prior to the corporation's borrowing funds or incurring any indebtedness, and C, removing the provision that the city attorney act as legal counsel for the corporation. The city attorney is not here, but I spoke with her about this today, and she suggested that we vote about each of these separately. And so let's talk about the first one. And I'll tell you what I know about this one, increasing the number of directors from 5 to 7. I got several emails from people who were in favor of this. I got some significant support. I think the council has their significant support for that on the EDC, and that was kind of the feeling. I had a thought of perhaps having a more close relationship between the EDC and the city council, so we could work a little together more closely. I noted that some cities did have a slot reserved for a council member, and I had proposed that we increase it to 7, but that one of the 7 members would be a sitting council member for a 1-year term, since you never know how long a council person's going to be on. I had proposed that and discussed it with Mr. Hernandez. He proposed it to the board. The board liked the idea of 7. They did not care for the idea of having a council member on. However, we are the council, and we can have the vote. If we have 5 votes, we can do this. So just being fully open on this, my idea to do this was not for any reason other than to work more closely with the EDC. And also, there's frequently people on the council that are not only interested, but very knowledgeable in economic development. And I just thought that would be a nice way to do it. But I'll open this up for discussion. Number one, do we want to go to 7? And if so, do we want it to be 7 people in the community, or do we want to reserve one of those slots for a sitting council member for a 1-year term at a time, kind of like we vote for mayor and mayor pro tem? So I'll open it up. Anyone have any comments or discussion? I'll give the floor to you.
Yes, a question is coming out of executive session with that council member, and I know the purpose of that is to have transparency with the council. What information coming out of executive session can he or that person?
He would be bound by the same. He would be bound by the same rules. He would not be able to discuss it with the council, as I understand. I would assume that he would not be able to discuss it with any other council member at all, unless it was out of executive session.
Okay, that's what I'll make sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, getting the 7, adding to the PDC is great. A council member being part of that PDC, going into executive council, helping make decisions and voting, I'm totally against that. Because I'm not saying a council member will go and leak something or call another council member on the phone. I'm not saying they will, I'm not saying they won't. So I am totally against a council member being on. We have to trust our PDC. We're going forward, transparency, being upfront, not having backdoor discussions. I am totally against a council member being on the PDC and making decisions. I feel like it's a conflict of interest.
Okay. Anybody have a comment, or I'll open it up? Mr. Pilgrim?
I'm not biased either way. It's kind of a 50-50 whether you want a city council member on there or not. I don't think there's any conflict of interest. I think anything that comes from the EDC, more than $400,000, we're going to be privy to anyway. The negotiation tactics, negotiations, and then also the people and the schematics of putting a deal together. I think it's a lot easier for a city council member to explain that in executive session when we're in the council. In the same sense, too, the EDC is its own organization, its own board. Although appointed by us, I think it's kind of I think it's a good idea, but I think it's something that, on a 1-year term, I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's bad. I'm kind of in the middle on the thing.
Ms. Knotts.
What if there was a caveat in there that the PEDC got to select which council member they wanted to work with for that year?
Ooh, hadn't thought of that.
How does that member get elected to the PDC? Now, if I'm at it, I may vote for it.
I'm just saying, if, and I was at that PEDC meeting also when they discussed, and I like to support what the board that we appointed, what their opinions are. But, I don't think it was ever offered to them that maybe they could select which council member they wanted to work with.
Ms. Portugal.
Well, I think the idea of a 7-member board is good. I've been to the liaison to the PEDC board for 3 years. I think I may have missed 1 or 2 meetings in 3 years. That's a lot of meetings. And I've enjoyed working with the board. And when you see a quorum of 3, and those people may be voting on incentives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, I don't think that's very good representation for our taxpayers.
I think there's a general consensus that moving to 7 is, I think everyone has agreed to that. So the real question is whether or not we want to reserve one of those slots for a sitting council member or not. And again, I'm kind of like Clayton. I was 50-50 on this. I heard the argument that it was a conflict of interest. I fail to see how it's a conflict of interest.
We're all working for Paris.
I mean, I really don't. I think it was mentioned, oh, well, you appoint us, therefore, I didn't buy that, but I was in the audience at that time. But I don't feel strongly one way or the other on this, Ms. Stone. There's a couple ways we could proceed with this. We could, so number one, we could, I'll give you your options. Number one, we could just say 7 members, that's it, okay? And number two, we could say, as Ms. Knox suggested, was the first I thought about this, is they could vote which council member they wanted on. That's an interesting thought. Number three, we could reserve up to 1 slot. Therefore, it's not mandatory that we put someone on, and we'd have a simple majority vote each year. If we thought we had a qualified person that we really wanted to be on the council, we could do that. Or number four, we could mandate one person be from the council for a 1-year term. Those, in my opinion, are the 4 options that are in front of us right now. And again, I'll entertain any more discussion on that.
I make a motion to increase the PDC board to 7 members, with 1 being a sitting council member appointed by PDC.
It's interesting. Well, we got a second. Okay. It will take 5 votes to pass this. We can discuss this a little more if we wish to before the vote. If not, we can have a vote. Then no more discussion. All in favor of the motion that Mr. Hughes and was seconded by Ms. Knox, raise your hand. Okay, that is 5 votes, so that actually, wow, okay, that passed. Item B here, requiring city council approval prior to the corporation's borrowing funds or incurring any indebtedness. This was actually my idea. It really, there's no limitation at current on the EDC. They can borrow $20 million if they want to, and they don't have to come to the council. And I spoke with Mr. Hernandez about this, and we were kind of in agreement that if the EDC was going into indebtedness, that they probably ought to at least be talking to the council and getting permission for that. And the EDC board was in complete agreement. They were unanimous agreeing with this amendment to their bylaws. So I will open this up for the council. Any discussion on this?
I'm absolutely in favor of that. More oversight.
All right. I'll make a motion. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve this amendment requiring city council approval prior to the corporation's borrowing funds or incurring any indebtedness.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous. One more thing to back up to A. If we have then a council member on the EDC, the question arises: you still got the mayor as the ex officio, and we will. My opinion would be, let's go ahead and have a liaison too. I don't see any reason not to, but that's something we would have to talk about. Y'all would be in favor of keeping a liaison as well, and that gets us really working closely with the EDC, which is what I've wanted all along. So if that's the case, then we'll consider, and when we get to the liaisons, we will discuss. We'll go ahead and put a liaison on, and if the EDC votes one of us onto the board, and that person happens to be the liaison, then the next meeting we'll appoint another liaison. How about that? Okay. And item number C here, I know this will thrill Ms. Harris, removing the provision that the city attorney act as legal counsel for the corporation. City attorneys have that represent both the PEDC and the council. Occasionally, she would come into conflict of interest or something that was uncomfortable for her to do. The board, I know she's not wanting to do that, and is very much in favor of this. The board voted unanimously to do this. I don't have a problem with it, but I want to make sure that we keep that the board, Tim, I want to make sure the board keep keep the options open as far as there may be some routine stuff that you don't want to pay an outside lawyer, that maybe Stephanie could do just fine. I mean, Stephanie can do a lot of good stuff, but I'll leave that to y'all's discretion, how you want to set it up. I'd hate to think we're going to pay a lawyer driving 2 hours to sit into a meeting and drive 2 hours back to Dallas. I mean, that would add up very quickly. So I'll leave that to the board's discretion, but that's the only downside I saw to this, other than it will cost some money out of the EDC's budget. But I'll open it up for discussion on the council. Anybody?
I strongly agree with this, and it's we ask a legal question or ask a question if we have a board member not acting correctly or things that we're supposed to do to oversight on the council side, and you try to get answers on some of that stuff, and it's also a workload problem, in my opinion, for Stephanie. So I agree totally. There's plenty of qualified attorneys that can help us on a need-to basis with the EDC to and we already kind of do that some anyways, hire some outlet, so I think that would be a good decision.
All right. Ms. Knox, you got anything to say?
No, I think this is fine.
Ms. Portugal?
No, I'm for it.
Ms. Hughes? Ms. Stone? All right. Somebody else make a motion.
I'll make the motion to remove the provision that the city attorney act as legal counsel for the corporation PEDC.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? That was good. All right. Let's see. Item number 17. We're going to get through before 9 o'clock, maybe. Item number 17, discuss and possibly act on a resolution approving this is approving a certificate of amendment. This is something that Stephanie would have explained to us if she had been here. But apparently we do have to amend the Articles of Incorporation for the PEDC in order to increase the number of directors from 5 to 7. So that's a separate action. So just to change it from 5 to 7, and as we stated in our motion. So that's what this is about. Discuss and possibly act on a resolution approving a certificate of amendment to the Articles of Incorporation of the PEDC to increase the number of directors from 5 to 7, and such other changes as shall be necessary to effectuate the council's action in item number 15. So any discussion? I think we have to do this as a matter in order to make that other legal. So I'll make a motion that we approve the certificate of amendment to the Articles of Incorporation as described.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Number 18, discuss and act on the PEDC's budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. Mr. Package.
Good evening, council. Can you guys hear me? Yes. As you can tell, in your packets, you'll see the budget that's outlined. Before the meeting, I had placed out an itemized budget, so that way you guys can kind of see exactly what we're talking about in terms of the item description. I know that if you guys are like me, you like detail, so that will kind of explain a little bit more about our budget. Comparing our budget from 2019-2020 to the proposed budget in front of you for 2020-2021, you'll see that there's a lot of similarities. In regards to personnel, we've gone up 2%, and that is for any given premiums or anything that goes up. Obviously, COVID's happening, and things always change in terms of insurance and whatnot. So we have put that into place there for a 2% increase overall, getting out to $243,900. Moving down to the total admin section for administration, you'll see some of the highlights that I'll put forth here. Telephone and communication, much like what you guys do to keep organized and save paper and save expenses, we have purchased iPads for our board, so that way we don't have many printouts and waste of paper, carbon footprint, right? So we've included that. You'll see that there's a little bit of an increase there, about 56% increase. Other than that, we've put a moving expense in, and that is for our new executive director that we have kind of talked about at our last meeting, and so they're going to need that expense to kind of move here and get adjusted from their home currently. You'll also see contracted services, the legal fees. That is a significant increase there for that given reason on the previous motion you guys just made. So that kind of helps to kind of understand where we're coming up with that. Auditing services, that goes up, so we've increased 3% there. Machinery, tools, and equipment, we have put a 25% increase there from $12,000 to $15,000 in regards to a lot of our IT machinery, computer system, networks, and things like that at the depot. We have had some really old computers, and we've had them for 5 to 7 years now, and so some of those are starting to die. We figured, hey, let's jazz it up and get some get a new computer system in for our staff, and that would be it's much needed now. So we figured we'd expense that in. You'll see under marketing and promotions, we have changed a couple things up. As you know, Lamar County Days comes every other year. And so we have budgeted our $10,000 that we usually do. And again, keep in mind that that's something that we really want to discuss with our new executive director in regards to how we spend that $10,000. Maybe we can come up with something that's a little bit more original. And we'd love your input if you'd like to throw something in there, just to kind of give us some ideas. Other than that, you'll see that the marketing videos, we've kind of increased that, not just designated just for the airport. Maybe we can market some other different parts of Paris that haven't had marketing that maybe potential industries can come to. So that's a little change that we wanted to make. Moving on, you will see our job training hasn't changed. It's the same. That's the same partnership we have with PJC to continue training for these jobs that work at our industries. And then under the direct business incentives, which we are now calling investments. Sorry, that's our new terminology, investments. It's more of a positive term, so that's something that you'll be hearing a lot more of. You will see that American Spiral Weld, the rail lead, we've already got that paid off, and they're well ahead of schedule. So that's actually a really positive. We've taken out $1 million there. In regards to some of our current contracts that we have been talking about just recently, you'll see that Jay Skinner's there, D6, a current project that we've got coming up there under Project Rocket X. We've got the contract details there, and then same with the Turner jobs that have been discussed. So all in all, actually we save and we don't have as much of an expense from last year this year in regards to direct business investments. And then debt services, same thing. Those are the notes that we have, and those are kind of self-explanatory. Same expenses last year to this year. And then under new industry projects, you'll see that we actually have already cleared up the American Spiral Weld land. That's already been cleared. It's good to go. The only thing that you will see is the land development. We're still a little bit behind because earlier in the year there was a lot of rain. So we're just a little bit behind in regards to spending all of that and clearing up all of our properties. But we're estimating about $100,000 left of work to do to clear those properties. Aside from that, you will see that moving on to that third page, you'll see that our total budget expenses from last year, $3,861,548.88, to this year being $3,537,173.88. So it's an 8% decrease in regards to the budget. We want to be fiscally responsible, as you've noted, and that's what I've wanted. So we're just trying to cut costs and make sure that we're really conservative. One thing to note, under the income, we kept it the same, but also note that we are actually at an all-time high in regards to sales tax income. So we're doing some good things, even with COVID coming around. We haven't fallen yet, so I give that to the pride of Paris and continuing to work hard. So, any questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Please.
Here, this is more of a rhetorical question.
Yes, sir.
We spent $3,861,000 and change last year, and we're spending $3,537,000 and change, and our income is $1,440,000. This seems unsustainable. I know we have special things going on, but just to look at that, wow! And I know why. I know the reasons, but I just want to publicly point that out that this can't go on much
keep
longer.
in mind that's a budget. That's not always expensed all the way. So $100,000, for example, let's look at marketing. $100,000 there. We don't even use $100,000 on marketing promotions. We're actually, I don't have all my paperwork from that last meeting, but I think we've only spent like $18,000 in regards to marketing. So, I mean,
when do you anticipate that your expenditures will be back down to the amount of money that you're actually taking in?
Oh gosh, that's a good point. I mean,
yeah, Tim,
please, I could refer to you. Quite honestly, like I said again, a lot of this money, this isn't being expensed. It's just budget line items, just in case if we do have those expenses. But I see what you're saying.
You're spending more than twice as much as you bring in the last 2 years, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, so when we look at our total budget, and what we have, Steve, is we have a 4-year forecast for our cash for receipts. So in these first 2 years, we're expending a lot of our cash that we currently have. We have $4.6 million in the bank. And then as we progress this out for the next 5 years, we would anticipate any additional borrowings. And to pay off this debt, as well as some other projects, we have enough to offer between $400,000 and $600,000 for any new business that may come in. And this will pay for the existing businesses, including D6. So we could
And I
not
knew
do
that.
another.
I just wanted to hear you say it, but how much do you have in the bank?
Almost $5 million.
Almost $5 million, and how much do you owe in the money you've borrowed?
Oh, we a little over $1 million. That's for the part of the indebtedness.
So you kind of got to subtract that from the money that you have in order to get
no,
your...
because that's not a monthly,
Yeah,
expenditures are in our budget, but it's.
Okay. Anyway, that's all I wanted to mention. I appreciate the information, and I understand that you've done that long-term budget. It does unfortunately severely restrict how much money we can spend without going so deep in the hole that our debt service will start to cripple us. So.
Correct. Correct. If we get another large project, that's something that
Yeah,
we would have to come
that's
to the
not fair.
council for help for.
Yeah, another great big project that we really need to spend some money on. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. Any questions on the council?
I have a couple.
Please.
Mr. Pankaj, on, under marketing and promotion,
Mhm.
you've got, you've taken out, pardon me, marketing the airport as an industrial site. Now, we've invested some money out there in plans to build a road and additional hangars. And I know that you've hired an executive director and currently in the negotiation that is at her area of expertise might be in airport development.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
this is something we wanted to do for a while. I'm curious as to why you removed any marketing the airport as an industrial site.
So we didn't want to keep it specific just for that reason, because we have a new executive director coming in the next year. Maybe if we want to use that to some other incentive or somewhere else to market, but we are open to it. We're not completely against marketing the airport. Obviously, we definitely, if that's something that comes up, then great. We have a project that could potentially come there that can help. So we absolutely want to be able to look at that and see based on how we feel with the executive director.
The other question I have is.
Yes, ma'am.
Industry attraction video, where are those shown?
So I know whenever this was roughly a year ago, whenever you guys appointed me onto the EDC, there was a huge shift towards marketing, social media, getting this industrial video together. And I think some of you might have been in those videos actually. So those videos are still out there. We do want to start that campaign back up. I know COVID has taken a toll on us a little bit, but that's not an excuse. We definitely want to keep marketing. Social media is many times a free social marketing, easy thing for us to use, and so that's what we want to use it on. But that's where those videos go. It's social media, and we still have those. We still retain the rights to those videos, so we can show them anytime. We can continue to blast it on social media.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to reiterate, as former chairman of the airport board, I feel like it is so underutilized, and I keep hoping when the new executive director's on board that she will use that expertise with marketing our airport and doing more with it.
Absolutely, I agree. And I just think that some of our money that we did put forth to market the airport wasn't fairly utilized. And so we wanted to make sure if it's going to be utilized and if it's going to be for the airport, we want to make sure it's done correctly and we see something out of it. If we spend $10,000 on it, we need to see return. And that's what I want to see. So I want to make sure that if we have an investment, we're going to make that investment worthwhile.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do y'all have like a projected production date or hiring for people in the community?
For the executive director?
Just the jobs, like when you feel like they'll start production?
Is this?
As far as jobs for people in the community?
Oh, for Spiralweld?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be by the end of the year, actually. They're going to start hiring.
Two people in the community. They have a plant manager and
They've already been hiring local folks, so they've already got a plant manager and then I think another higher executive job, a managerial job, but they're already starting to hire. So they're wanting to start producing by the end of the year is what they're telling us. Pat Hook is telling us that.
Tim, if you want to step up to the mic so we can all hear you and the recorder will hear you too.
So I've had conversations with Pat Hook, who is in charge of the production at American Spiral. So they want to start production, as I mentioned earlier, in December. And they've already hired 2 people for their plant. One of them was my ex-neighbor, their plant manager, and then I forget his other title, but there's 2 people from the local community they've already hired. And they plan to start hiring probably September or October. They'll start that process. And as soon as he has a firm date, he will let me know, and then I will convey it to everybody. So, but yeah, they want to get going by December, which would be a great Christmas present for the city.
Yeah, originally we didn't anticipate that, but we were questioning the same thing that you guys were questioning, and then they told us, hey, it's going to be December. So I said, all right, bring it on. Let's get it going. So, thanks.
Questions?
All right.
Anybody? If no more questions, anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the Economic Development Corporation's budget for fiscal year 2020-21.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Everyone unanimous? Thank you. Thank you all, appreciate it. Next is item number 19, discuss and act on an ordinance amending section 34-22B, water rates, section 3423 ABC, sewer rates to reflect changes recommended by the 2020 water and sewer rate study. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of review what our status is currently on this. The council, of course, heard at its last meeting rate consultant Chris Eckroot from NewGen and the results of that rate study, which determines the contract rates for our big water users, but also recommends rates for our other customers, residential, commercial, and smaller industries. As Chris pointed out at that meeting, the annual rate study as well as our rate maintenance study is very critical financial things that we do, especially when it comes to our bond rating. I have on my desk right now a 3-page survey from Standard & Poor's on our financial condition, and I've already skimmed through it. And 2 of the things that it talks about and wants to ask questions about is our rate maintenance policy and the financial condition of our utility. And so it is something that they look at every time that they examine us financially. Our current bond rating is AA3 with Moody's. Moody's is who we normally get to rate our bonds, and that's a very strong rating from a financial standpoint. But even a slight decrease in our bond rating can literally cost us millions of dollars in extra interest. We're contemplating building a new wastewater treatment plant, as we've talked about before. That could cost up to $60 million. And even 0.5% increased rate, because our bond rating goes down, could cost us between $5 and $6 million over the life of that debt issue. So it is a very critical thing for us to maintain a strong financial condition. So adjusting our rates in accordance with the rate study and our rate maintenance policy, it's very critical and healthy steps that we need to take in order to maintain the financial integrity of our water and wastewater system. At that meeting, Chris presented 2 different scenarios for y'all to consider. The first scenario would set rates at a level that would completely cover the cost of operating the system, full cost of service. The second scenario that he laid out would be enough to allow us to meet our rate maintenance policy, but would not fully cover the cost of operating the system. We would have to draw down our reserves, something a little over $300,000, if we adopt scenario number 2. Now, I can understand the attractiveness of that scenario because in the short run, our residential and commercial customers in particular would benefit from that, and particularly with all that we've been through early in this year. But if we go forward with our plans to build a wastewater treatment plant, in the long run, taking scenario 2 would hurt us financially. We'd have to make up that reserve that we drew down, because when we issue debt, we're required to maintain a certain debt service coverage, to set up a sinking fund to pay for that new debt, and we also have to increase our reserves to match that increased debt. So if we draw that down now for scenario 2, when we issue that debt here in a few years, we're going to have to pick that back up, plus add some more to that. So in particular, I want to focus on that wastewater treatment plant, because it is such a critical issue for us. We don't want to get to the point where TCEQ comes in and mandates that we build one on short notice, or that the plant should fail to operate properly, because it is an old plant, and I think we've done a good job in maintaining it. Doug's people out there really do a good job at that, but at some point, it has to be replaced, and it goes back and dates back to World War II, and we've just tried to maintain that same system since then. So we had a phone conference recently, the manager and Doug, myself, Chris Eckroot from NewGen, as well as Garver Engineering, who is the engineering firm that we've talked to and been dealing with to design that wastewater treatment plant. And we looked at different scenarios and how building this plant would affect our rate. Now, from the point when they actually start designing it till it's finished, completed building, it's going to be at least 3 years, could possibly take as many as 5, just depending on how the projects go. And it was the consensus of this group in the meeting that we begin now a healthy and gradual increase in the wastewater rates, so that when that debt is finally issued, that we'll be able to issue that debt without having to spike the rates at that point, but build up to it, begin to build up our reserves that we know we're going to have, begin to build up to the point where we'll have the 1.1 coverage factor that we have to have under the rate maintenance policy, and also get to the point where we can put back the money that we have to put back in the interest and sinking fund to make those debt payments. We think building up to it gradually is better than waiting to the point where the debt's issued and then spiking the rates, which is what that would require. So that would be our recommendation, I think, is that we, at this point, go ahead and adopt scenario number 1 and not draw down those reserves and have to make up those in the next few years when we actually issue that debt. I know it seems like sometimes to the public that we raise rates every year, but we do not. I went back over the last 10 years. 5 of those years we did not raise rates at all, and 5 of them we did. If you go back just 5 years, 3 of those years we didn't raise rates, and the last 2 we have had to raise those rates. So we do our best to hold those costs down because we all have to pay rates too. But we think financially it's important at this point that we maintain the financial integrity of the system and not draw down our reserves. And so, again, we were recommending scenario number 1. The manager may have some comments, or I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Well, I'd just like to comment. Mr. Eckert did a very good presentation at our last meeting, and his company is known as the best wastewater study company in the state of Texas, and I think we have the best finance director in the state of Texas, and they're in agreement that we've got to have this new treatment plant. If we let that fail, I believe it's $10,000 a day. TCEQ will fine us, and I don't know where that money would come from, but water and wastewater treatment has to pay for itself. It's a terribly expensive operation and vital to a healthy community. So to keep our bond rating up, I would support option number 1.
Anybody else have any
I
comments?
support option number 1 as well, or scenario 1. It's credit rating, bond rating, whatever you want to call it. Your credit score is pivotal when you're going to loan money on a house or a car or whatever you're buying. Same thing with the city when we're going to need the 30 or 35, 25 million. We don't really know the expense yet on the wastewater facility. It's something that's fixing to happen because
It has to.
yeah, it's something you got to be ahead of. And if TCEQ ever were to come to us and we've spoke about it before, if we get to the point to where we have an issue, they take over. So then we don't really have much option.
Yeah.
And it may cost.
And not only do they
40
take over, they tell you what you have to spend, correct, Mr. Anderson? So you lose the option of planning your own. They tell you what you have to spend, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Yeah.
that-
It's like owning a home. I mean, you got to put a new hot water heater in every 10 years or whatever, and put a new roof on every 15. And whenever it hails, you got to instead of having insurance on this deal, it's got to come out of our pocket. But I think that we've got to. Last year we were talking about it when we increased the rate a little bit, but we didn't do what we really needed to keep like you said, our bond rating. I hate anything going up with all the stuff that's been going up lately, but.
Ms. Stone, you have any comments or anything on it?
I'm okay with scenario number 1 because it has to be done, and we can keep kicking the bucket down the road, and eventually we're gonna have to pick it up. So, yeah, scenario 1, even though scenario number 2, it is a lot of impact on the residents as far as, the water bill and stuff going up, but scenario number 1, in the long run, is the best fit for the community.
Ms. Hughes, you have anything?
No, scenario number 1.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to approve scenario number 1.
I didn't even get a chance to say anything.
I'm
but yeah.
sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm in complete agreement with you,
Okay,
Clayton. I'm just, I think sometimes council has to make hard decisions for the long-term benefit of the community, and I think this is one of those times. And this is why we're here, to show leadership. And I hate it as much as anybody, but I think for the long-term benefit of the city, this is important. So go ahead and make your motion.
I make a motion to approve scenario 1 to approve the new water rates.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Next item, number 20, this will be quick. Discuss and act on an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Paris, Texas, extending the mayor's declaration of local disaster for public health emergency in order dated March 19th, 2020, as extended by resolution number 2020-011 and by ordinances numbers 2020-014 and 2020-017 for an additional 30 days. This is necessary if we're going to remain eligible for any potential financial aid regarding the COVID crisis. So there's no downside to this. We need to extend this another 30 days. Any discussion? All right.
I'll make a motion. Sorry.
I make a motion to extend it another 30 days.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Item number 21, receive and discuss report from Chief Hunley regarding police call volume at local hotels in the city of Paris, Texas in relation to creating a safe zone, and we hope you have a very happy retirement, Chief.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, Council, y'all asked me to come back in June, give you an update on the numbers. We certainly wasn't planning on any virus, and so calls for service for the police department reduced significantly all over town. But we did have a decrease in calls for service at the motel. That seems to be the focal point of all this. They dropped down to about 34 calls for service. Actually dropped down number 3 on the top, the listing of the top problem areas. And I think more important than that is that we saw our patrol officers making more security checks there. It may not seem like a whole lot for 3.5, 4 months of doing 12 additional security checks, but that means they get there and they hang around for a little bit and see what's going on. And so, we can attribute, and I don't want to try to mislead y'all at all, calls for service were down. But I kind of feel better about the officers being on the parking lot, being around, being watching a little bit. The arrests did not go up. The arrests stayed, pretty well close to the same. But I think we're on the right track of just working with the management out there and having that patrol car being seen and officers being around. I think we're getting the same thing done without creating another ordinance.
Any other questions for Chief? All right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 22, announcement of, here you go, Chief Bob Hunley's retirement and Assistant Chief Tuttle's assignment as interim police chief. Mr. Path.
City Council. Yes, Bob Hunley, Chief of Police, gave me the unfortunate news this last week that he will be retiring July 3rd. 45 years of service. I think this will be his last city council meeting with us tonight, and so I would like to thank Bob for his many years of experience and work he's done for us. And so if I may, please, so thank you, Bob.
Cool it, this is bad enough already. It's been an honor and a privilege. This is home. This is a great city. It's got a lot of great people in it. Loved every bit of it. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob. So I've asked Randy Tuttle, as our Assistant Chief of Police, to serve an interim, and so starting July 3rd at, I'm sure, 5 p.m., I imagine. Randy Tuttle will be acting as our interim Chief of Police, and I'll be starting the process towards hiring the new Chief of Police position. So Randy Tuttle will be our interim chief at that point. So.
All right, thank you. Next, item 23, discuss and act on the selection process for filling the vacant seat of City Council District 3. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Ellis.
Okay. In order for you all to have representation in District 3, or the citizens to have representation, you just need to decide if you want to select someone that you know or accept applications, like a process we've done in the past, where we advertised for vacancy and we got all the applications in and then submitted them to you all, and you actually interview them. So if you just kind of give us some direction as to what you all would like for us to do.
Mayor, I have a comment on that.
Go ahead.
I really like the proposal that Ms. Ellis has proposed. I really like that. I think advertising the position will give people in that district an opportunity. And I think, we need to really be aware of allowing residents an opportunity to bid, to serve, to all of that. So I really like what you've proposed.
Yeah, I like this a lot. And I think even, and I know one person already has expressed an interest in, I think even, I don't know how many people we're going to have, but I still think even getting the council to interview them, even in a real low-key interview, is a very good idea. And also let them ask questions to the council, see what they're getting in for, too. So anyway, I completely agree with this appointment process. Anybody else have a comment?
No, I totally agree. We're
good?
Looks good.
Looks good.
You all want us to move forward?
Let's move forward. Do we have to have a motion on this? It says discuss and act. I don't know if it needs a motion or not, or just a direction.
And how long will we do it? 2 weeks?
Yeah. I would. Our next meeting is what, 3 weeks from now because of the changing of the month, right?
July the 13th is your
So
next
we got 3 weeks. That would give us. I don't know, how long do we want to advertise for applicants?
A week or two.
Yeah, a couple of
It
weeks.
doesn't need to be a whole lot. I mean, a lot of time.
Yeah. You think? What do y'all think?
Are you all thinking that you want to interview them at that meeting or a later meeting? Or
Make
just
sure to do it not on the 16th, but maybe give you a few days to compile all the information the Thursday before. Would be
Okay.
the deadline, maybe.
Yeah. And do we want to interview and appoint at the same meeting?
I think we may have one council member that's going to be out then,
Yeah, that's
possibly
right.
two.
I don't know. Who else going to be at that meeting or may not be at that meeting at this point?
I should be there.
Ms. Stone will be out.
You'll be out.
I will be out.
So,
I'll be out.
so we'll be missing 2 of the 6, so we'll just barely have a quorum. You want to put it off to the, why don't we advertise and why don't we, instead of rushing this, you want to be, what do you want to do, Miss?
Well,
what do
why
y'all
don't we
wanna do? The people-
advertise until the 13th,
and then that'll give a couple weeks to compile everything.
Okay.
And then we can maybe have a special meeting
Have a
the
special
week
meeting to interview.
before the city council meeting.
Sounds good.
And then at the city council meeting, maybe we can appoint or elect or select.
And that way y'all will be able to be here too,
It
so.
does say act, so we probably got to vote.
Does that sound okay with you, Renee? Councilmember Stone?
I go out July the 8th, and I have knee surgery.
Oh.
So I'm going to be out a while. I
You'll
don't
be out a
know.
while, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so basically, yeah, it's not, we'd like to appoint sooner than that, so I guess you're the only one that matters since you're the one who's not going to be here, but will be here in a meeting after that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, why don't we do it the way that she suggested then, and we'll go ahead and advertise and then finalize the applicant's next meeting, and then maybe schedule, if necessary, schedule a special meeting to interview the applicant/applicants.
And maybe Ms. Stone would be available at that special meeting, depending on how she feels.
And you might could Zoom in too. We're getting good
Yeah,
at
I would
Zoom.
love to.
We're getting good at Zoom. I think we could probably do that. If Stephanie tells us we can do it legally, she was saying some nonsense about that today, but I think we can probably work that out. Our God obviously got to do it within open meetings, but maybe we can Zoom you in and you'll be the little face on the desk, okay? There we go. We could actually do that with you too, but let's just keep it the way we already decided. Let's keep it the way we decided.
Okay. So I
if-
want to confirm that.
Just in
we're
case we
all-
need a motion, I'll make a motion that we do this selection process as described, as we've discussed up here.
Okay,
Thank you.
Second, anybody second?
A second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Next item, we've already done 24. Here we go. Discuss and make appointments to the various boards and commissions. We're going to try out my process. I'm telling you right now, if you don't like it and it doesn't work, we can stop it right now, or we can stop it after the first one. If you think it works well, we'll continue on. This was not anything other than a suggestion.
So the way I understood it, we're gonna have a ballot with everybody's name that is
Yeah.
on or applying for the different boards, right? And then our number one choice that we want on there will have the highest number.
Highest number of points.
So
Let Janice pass out the ballot, the first ballot. And I've got an order of these. I looked at them trying to minimize conflicts, trying to, people that wanted on one board and another board, then they weren't going to get put on a board and then taken off a board. Some were unavoidable, but I did come up with an order. So
Thank you.
believe me, I thought it out, and it may not be perfect, but let's try it with the PEDC and see how it works. We currently have, this is important, everybody to understand, we got 14 applicants. For the person that you like the best, give that person 14, write a 14 by that person's name. The person you like next, write a 13, all the way down to 1. And don't leave anybody out. And your name is on this because this is an open record, and it's subject to open meetings requests. So if y'all can do this, then we will add up. And the other thing that's going to happen too. So right now, given that we've opened it up to three people, so there's now 3 vacancies.
Right.
So if the first person the first and the second ballot getters will get on, there could potentially be a tie. If there is a tie between third and fourth place, that's the only time they'll come back, say there's a tie. They will bring it in and we will openly vote. And since we got 6, it could still be a tie. If it ends in a tie at that point, we have 2 choices. My proposition was to the person who got the most high-ranking points. Let's say someone got 2 2s and a few 3s and a 4, and someone else got 3 2s through 3s and a 4. The person who got the 3 2s would win it, if you see what I'm saying. Or if a person got a 2 and the highest person, the other person got was a 3, then the person that got the 2 would get it. That would be the tiebreaker. Hopefully we won't have a tiebreaker or anything like that, but I just wanted to anticipate it in case it happens. So I better get busy filling mine out too.
Oh, yeah, I already knew mine. Oh, yeah, I already know. gonna take a while to compile these.
Again, make sure you have one number from number 14 for your number one choice all the way down to 1 for your last choice. And every number should be there. If any irregularities on the ballot, it'll be brought back to you. It's for you to correct before they're counted. There's an echo in here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, who's compiling these?
Janice.
14? Did you do all 14?
This one will take a while.
It shouldn't take long, really. Just a simple addition. It shouldn't take long.
want to, but I did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say this the only one, this and both, two of them take long, the rest of them will be easy.
Yeah, the rest of them will be easy. Yeah.
Oh, we got Gene.
I like this way better.
Yeah.
Everybody
Get Gene for
gets
everything.
consideration.
Hey, Mr. Pat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there is my ballot. And make sure there's yeah, make sure make sure you lined up the numbers because it was a little distant. Make sure everybody understands. So make sure we have a number from 1 to 14, and if not, bring it back to the person and count them up. And you don't have to tell us the numbers.
We start with the next committee? and
We
start-
can, but we maybe shouldn't because there's some overlap potentially.
Oh, I
We need
see.
to, as soon as these
Okay.
people are seated, all other boards they've applied to, they're stricken from them.
I got you.
And so.
I got you.
I'd like to, but we can't.
Okay.
she
Well, just
went
tell
in.
me who gets stricken
Is she going there?
before I vote, you know.
Yeah, well. So this is an experiment. We will see how this works.
I think it's great. I mean, it's like kind of like the electoral college, kind of.
Yeah.
Same sense.
And once again, this is something the council can decide on at any moment. We can change it. And if
There's only like 2 other boards, I think, that we're gonna have to do it on.
yeah, I think it's right. There's
Yeah.
maybe 4, and then the rest of them are going to be kind of automatic. I did order them because there were some people who wanted. You could just look at it, well, I would rather be on this board than this board. Well, if there's a couple of those people, then the board this person really wants to be on, if it comes up first, then you can strike them off the other board and the person gets his first choice. There's still going to be 2 or 3 that if they get on a board and get on a later board, we'll have to strike them off. If we do that, we will then, we've got the ballots and the number, we'll pull the next person off. We want to vote again, okay?
Hand sanitizer. Oh, a sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer. Wow. Thank you, sir. That's liquid hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Well.
Alcohol hand.
Yeah.
Well. Well, I still carry my bottle that Kent gave us.
Yes.
Yeah, I still have mine
Still
too.
have mine, and
I
I
refill
carry
it if I need to.
I carry mine with me.
Ow, it burns if you have a cut.
Oh, yeah. I saw a meme. It said, paper cut detector. You got one.
good.
It'll find it. Yep.
That's very good. Yeah, I didn't know I had one. I think I need caffeine.
I have sworn off caffeine for the last, since my heart went into atrial fib, and I'm on medicine. I've quit drinking. That's the first caffeine I've had in absolutely weeks.
We gave
And it didn't have
one Lent,
I
like
drink
30 years
one
ago
cup of
or
coffee
something,
every morning and that's
and
it.
I don't buy it, but once in a while, like tonight.
I find in the mornings I'm still a little groggier than I used to be, you know?
I drink 1 cup of decaf coffee every morning. 1.
I drink a giant cup of it. One, but huge.
Yeah.
It's like 2/3 of a pot.
That's pretty big.
It's one of those thermal things. Oh, how's life treating you, Mr. Hughes?
Oh, man, I've been training dogs all week. I have EOD. I have an EOD dog, and then I have I train police canine.
Really?
Yeah, Malinois. So I had some people in from Atlanta, Georgia. They bought a dog from me, and then they brought a dog down to get some training. So
Can you train my dog not to jump up on me or lick me? He licks every exposed square inch of skin. He's an Australian Shepherd. He comes up, and if he sees skin, he's going to lick. And he just keeps licking until he has licked every square inch. And my wife, it drives her
crazy.
Renee, do you have your
Oh,
evaluations?
I left it at home. I had it. I figured it out.
On my kitchen table. Give them to Janice,
I get them to her
Linda, and I'll.
tomorrow.
And I have not done it either. I apologize. I was focusing on this other stuff. And there's so much on this meeting. It's taking longer than I thought it would. Well, they got to add up a bunch of numbers, but they should be able to come back.
This will be the hardest.
This is absolutely the hardest.
Yeah.
And P&Z would be second hardest, and they get
Yeah.
easier
I
to
like
the
the
point.
way you did that, because, so many people are here waiting to find out.
But if we find out it doesn't work or we want to improve the method, that's fine.
So far, I love it.
Okay. I was just trying to think of the tiebreakers. Try to agree to the tiebreakers before it happens. And we probably won't have a
That was
tie.
good, thank you.
But if we do have a tie, I think the initial step would be to come in here and vote on it. Say, okay, we got Joe Blow and Jane Doe, okay? And who wants this one? Raise your hand. Who wants this one? If it's still 3-3, then the tiebreaker would be the one who had the most of the highest ranked numbers. So if somebody got a 1 and the highest the other guy got was a 2, the guy that got a 1 gets it. Or what's more likely to happen, this person got 2 2s, or this person got 2 3s, and this person got 3 3s, and the rest below that.
Yeah, that's why
the person who got 3 3s gets it. You see what I'm saying?
How are they going to take this?
Well, are
Not
we
personally,
going to
just for sure.
appoint somebody from place 3,
That's it. It's all
District
about
3,
business, right?
till November?
No, immediately. We'll start serving immediately, and we'll serve out.
Are they, will they serve just till
No,
November?
But
Okay.
because
They'll serve 2 years.
Randy was elected to a 2-year
Oh, yeah,
term.
yeah.
That term is not up for re-election until 2 years from right now.
Yeah, 6 and 1.
So, and I've actually, I don't know if, I met Casey Jordan. I don't know if he's here. He said he was.
Yeah, they gotta go. And they next meeting.
And he may be that guy back in the back.
Yeah. And I've been on the board before, so
He's a math and now a science
He's
teacher.
not
at North
campaigning.
Lamar.
He's campaigning.
Sims Norman told me that he was very interested, and I called him, and boy, he seems like a super guy. I mean, even if we didn't have another applicant, just from my conversation with him, he would be a good guy. But he sounded very, he spoke very well. Again, I don't know if that's him or not, but I bet he's here. I guess I could ask. Is Casey Jordan here? Let me see. Casey Jordan here? No. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
is that who wanted to be District 3?
He's a guy that's he's going to apply for the position that's vacant. Sims Norman said he was interested, and I got his phone number and called him. He was a math, and now he's teaching history at North Lamar.
Yeah, I talked to him.
Okay, did you?
Yeah,
Good,
I
good,
talked
good,
to him for a
good.
while.
I mean, even if we don't get another applicant, I'd be pleased with it.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I spoke with him about 30 minutes one day.
Oh, yeah, okay, because I talked to him about that long too on the phone. I just called him and talked to him, and I mean, I'm open to anybody that applies.
Yes.
But just glad that I asked him how come he told me, he said, well, the only reason I didn't apply, he said, I know
Yes,
Danny, and
ma'am.
I kind of, I didn't want to run it as meetings.
Forgotten theirs, or haven't had time to do it. Clayton has his, I think.
I did.
You want to take them,
Yeah,
or you want me
me
to?
too.
When do you leave?
Oh, yes, yes.
No, are you going to have time to do it before?
Now, wait a minute. I thought that had all been postponed until later on.
No, I think we said this one was due, and then we do it at the next meeting. No, because the next meeting you're going to be gone.
Yeah, so we were going to do it, we postponed it to,
Let me tell them.
yeah, and I'm sorry, I just haven't had a chance to get to mine yet, because
I
I've
didn't do
spent
mine
so
till
much
December.
time going over this
Because of
committee
Linda's
things.
vacation schedule, we're going to put it off another.
Okay. So I'm not quite as hurried to get it done.
Eric and Renee, is it okay? Because of Linda's vacation schedule, we're going to put it off, the evaluations, and because I don't want to do it by myself. I think it's better with a subcommittee of two than, so if that's okay, and then that's no rush, you can get them to Janice.
Yeah, I still turn it in to Janet, so it'll be turned in.
At our next meeting, and then the next one after that. Okay?
She's back.
Okay. Is it clear? Is there any,
Ready?
do we have a top three?
Yes, we do.
We have a top three. Okay, announce who the new members of the PEDC are
Okay.
Wait a
The
second.
new members of the PEDC.
in
are-
alphabetical order.
Okay. Josh Bray, Chase Coleman, and Curtis Finley.
All right.
Okay. So what are we going to do about the other appointees?
Their next meeting, they'll vote on it.
Yeah.
Say what?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
which one you talk?
Well, I mean, how many vacancies did we have?
We had 3 on the EDC board.
Uh-huh.
Initially, we had 2, but you all voted to extend it or expand it, and then you're gonna have a council member on it.
Yes.
So they'll have to vote one of us in. But there are 6 now community members, so this rounds out the EDC. Okay, if you are, yes, are any of these people, did any of these people apply to any other board?
No, sir, they did.
Okay, then hand out the next ballot.
Okay. Well, congratulations to you all. Thank you for applying.
Yes, very much.
This will be for planning and zoning, right? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Planning and zoning. Okay, so we, once again, we have 9 people here. Larry Walker was added on at the last minute. I know him, he's an architect, he's also is a civil engineer, just if you haven't read his, his resume was just attached today, in fact, so.
Oh, no. This is going to be A. I got all mixed up. I like it.
I will point out there's a typo on this. Ms. Ellis says, give your top choice 9 points and give your second choice 18 points. Don't do that, okay, please. Please don't do that.
I gotta change that now?
See, so the guy you like second, he's getting home, man. I tell you what, he's getting home.
Well, we have a good one.
This will be quicker, not as many numbers, and each one gets progressively easier. This is where we'll have a potential some overlap with some future things.
Scratch out. It confused me getting people late.
Yeah, I did, me too. It did me too. We're going to have to have a cutoff. Next year, we need to have a cutoff date on this, so we don't have late entries, because everybody, we kind of had things set, and then there's a monkey wrench in. So I think we'll have to have a cutoff so that Janice will have time to get the ballots done. So maybe, we'll talk about it next year.
Well, and for us to study and
Yeah,
look
that's
at
right,
their
that's right.
applications, I think it doesn't do them justice if they turned it in today.
Oh, yes, he gets a lot of government grants. Very experienced. Right.
Their money, so you have to go by their criteria, so it's kind of first come, first served.
That's fine. I hate Tim to get back on, but
Well, I just did it.
Face Cole gonna be good as a treasurer. Son. Mhm. Yeah, he'll do good. Plus he's young. I mean, we just need more young people on these boards.
Yeah.
To take over later, you know what I mean?
Keep yours. Okay. I've got mine done too.
I'm
so-
speaking to,
But we're gonna give them another.
Pastor Bill, Dr. Bills. And we're gonna try to start keep him
Text.
in this one. If not, even on the local level, on the state.
Trying to get her involved, because she apparently has a lot of expertise in that area. Oh, gosh, I can barely breathe in this thing.
Yeah, we'll see how this works. I don't know. There may be some downside to it too. I'm just saying but we'll see how these voting works.
So you
That
texting
was
everybody,
planning and
telling them
zoning,
who
That
won?
was planning and zoning we just did, or it's coming back shortly.
Texting everybody to tell them
And the next one, I was going to have Main Street next, mainly.
I've got to go down there
because we need to
video.
because
Sell another big piece
there's-
of beautiful ranch
she's
land.
She's on HPC, but there has to be a Main Street representative on HPC. So,
He
anyway.
doesn't need to even be on.
Yeah, I know.
HPC.
She won't, we won't be voting on her,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just kind of scratched.
But that's why I wanted to put this
Yeah.
ahead of that one and
Okay.
get that done. And then I'll call them out if y'all have a problem with the order. I don't think, to me, I looked at the order and it seemed to make some sense, so.
Oh, I'll let you do that. Go ahead. You got to leave. You got to pay some bills.
Boy, is that person on? Oh, no, it's PEDC.
Your choice.
I mean,
It was my third choice. Oh, yeah.
A liaisons? Yeah, which one you want? You pick the one you want.
This is a really good way.
The only downside I see of it.
The Main Street. Huh? Main Street. Main Street, wherever it is. Once a month.
Nothing's perfect.
I know. Well,
Yeah, yeah. But this saves all the back and forth and the who gets nominated first and the,
Yeah. I really like this a lot.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and then, of course, everybody can see who the ranking, who people rank.
Yeah, and if people want access to it, it's open information. So just like a
I
perfect.
think it's a great thing to do.
Okay.
And then there's, I think the next two,
It'll be real quick. Well, I've got a
Planning and
different order.
zoning, we got to do planning and zoning.
And that's what we're doing right now.
That's-
That's
yeah.
what they're doing right now. The next one I wanted to do was,
After planning and zoning, who comes? Who goes?
yeah, I wanted to do Main Street next.
Okay.
It just,
Well, he do planning and zoning, but I wanna start attending that. Okay. So I know what's going on. You can't? Yeah.
That's me. Do you like this method? I do. I do too.
And I can't believe how.
Yes.
You can't read my mouth. Now that the people, they just stare at me, it's like, come on.
I know. And smiling, you know, now like your eyes smile. I don't think my eyes smile. I mean, it's, I smile. But, you know, like just walking down the sidewalk, I always smile at people.
Yeah.
Don't speak.
Well, but you kind of get used to it, because we all wear masks at work, so you get used to like the subtleties of things, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have our first snag, not a big deal. Austin Anthony is on the board. We have a three-way tie for the next two places, okay?
Okay.
And we need to have a vote on this. We have Cody Adams, Matthew Coyle, and Talisha Ross. So two of those three will, let's see, how many slots we have? We have three, right?
3 vacancies.
Two of those three will get on the board, and the other one won't. So how do we want to proceed with this? Do we want to
Those three? Revote those three?
I'm sorry?
You just revote those three, huh?
You want to revote those three?
Revote those
Okay,
three.
hey, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I love the idea.
We can get
Okay,
our-
revote the three, hand out basically another piece of paper if you've got one.
Just give us those,
Yeah,
and we
same
can
one
just.
back.
Yeah, on the back of, there you go. Boy, this thing's evolving as we go.
Yeah, number
3 points for your favorite, 2 for your next, and 1 for your next. That's a
You can
great
just
idea.
write it on the other side of it. Just
That
draw
is a
line.
great idea.
Just write it on the side of it.
Well, I'm gonna write it. I tell you what. Since the names are already here, draw a line by that and write your new point total by those 3 people.
Yeah.
So the 3 people we're voting for
You
are
said Matt Cole, who?
Cody Adams,
And
Matt Cole.
Talisha Ross.
Matt Coyle,
Uh-huh.
and Talisha Ross.
Start 3, 2, 1.
So yeah, 3, 2, 1. Just
Okay,
let me see.
Here you go, Janice.
Cody Adams.
here you go. That way you don't have to walk in far.
Yeah. That means a lot, yeah.
Okay. That was such a great idea. That was such a great idea. Thank you. I knew this was a work in progress.
Teamwork.
And Linda came up with a great idea, you know.
Yes,
Gee,
she did.
This one will be quick. I bet even Gene can count to 3 pretty
In his
quick.
head.
Yeah, oh, they won.
Yeah, we still have time. Okay, we'll talk about it.
Hey, Paula. I will walk to you.
You know, I wear hearing aids, and they work if I can read lips and you talk real loud.
You know, that just kind of came to me. You know, it just sort of comes to, you know, when I kind of thought, well, you know what a nice compromise if they, you know, and I always like to support what the board recommends.
Yeah, sure.
And they didn't want it, but
Let them
pick
pick,
which one,
yeah.
and then, you know, that just.
And I will remove, not that they would vote me, but I would remove myself from consideration. I have no interest.
You're the mayor, so you would serve as ex officio.
Yeah, but even so, I want to make sure they know I don't want it, and I think the mayor probably should play it by ear, but I'm gonna let them know, don't even consider me, and I don't think they would anyway.
I don't know.
If you'll be PEDC, but I still been going to PEDC because I mean, it's a lot of money. It's taxpayer money. So,
Okay then, I'm trying to.
what have you been on?
I was on that one, but I don't like it. I'm not gonna get on any of them. Only, I wish, I would love that one because, no, not that one. No, it's the one.
So great on historic planning.
They don't have one.
I know, isn't that strange?
And I would, that was so neat.
And you know, that's a state thing where only the mayors can appoint it. That's not even nothing we do, that's state mandated.
I don't understand.
Because now a lot of it's federal funds, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But that's our tax money too. We send it there, we send it to Austin, we send.
I don't guess I'll be on one tonight.
Yeah, you will.
You know, the airport. Have you been on an airplane? Will you
Oh,
do
yeah,
it?
I've been on airplanes.
Will you do it?
But not one there.
That's what, when I was on the airport board, I was chairman of the board. I'm not a pilot.
And I just think that's one area
I think it would just be
that
boring,
the airport.
like the library.
Well,
So
yeah,
what did you think?
That's where you gonna meet some people and you be flying out of there before you know it. But the airport and,
Okay, what's
I
this
can't
right
even
here?
tell,
Which one is that? Can I do that?
architect,
I know they're
Architects
They meet
Council of
like in
Government.
Texas County or Tyler or somewhere?
Yeah.
Mount
It's-
Pleasant?
I don't know, that's you.
You can talk to that person you're texting with.
It says it's routinely been the mayor, but I'll bet you anything.
Oh, no, look, no,
Steve
but
done-
look,
Oh.
it says it's gotta include.
A member of the
city
council.
to serve, Which would have been mayor, but HR also allows member of council to serve.
Yeah,
That'd be the only other one I do, other than that, I'm out.
that's two areas I think we don't take advantage of.
Yeah, I
is
did.
the airport and Lake Crew.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one right here, visitors and conventions.
That's just like the,
He had a real nice resume.
what you got off of in Dona.
A real nice resume.
It's just like Civic Center.
That's you in
No.
VC, the VCC?
Let me see.
I think that's you.
Yeah, last year, I didn't, yeah, cause I was on the Love Civic Center one year, I
Here's
know.
all that crap with everybody's resume.
I was a
I guess I
liaison
locked
for
mine.
that.
I put mine up.
What time do they meet?
Here it is.
Meeting like at three, about 4,
At 4?
He'd be towards the back under the T's.
That's what Derek just
yeah,
said.
about 4. He just, once I just left, he could tell Josh there.
So that's.
That was me out.
That's a long time to count 3 people.
This is another time.
They've run out of fingers and toes.
Here it is.
Can you,
Here it is. Look.
oh, they probably getting together the next way they wanna bring it.
Also, the Main Street Board, that has been a working board. I mean, that's where the
and then I'll
council
get that
liaison
other
is
guy too that
expected
you
to
said.
be at all their events. And, Pumpkin Festival and.
That wouldn't be
So
me.
I've got.
So, our 3 members on the Planning and Zoning are, we've already announced Austin Anthony, Talisha Ross, and Cody Adams are on Planning and Zoning. Okay?
Good, okay.
And I'll give that to you, Janice, for open meetings, whatever. All right, those are the hard ones. They get easier. I propose we do Main Street next. I have a reason for it. It should be pretty quick. We have 4 vacancies, and by the way, are any of those people apply for any other boards, Janice? Yeah,
Main Street.
if they did, that hasn't already been addressed.
She just got on there, so she scratched off.
Yeah, and that's why I went with it. Yeah. So, okay, so strike her off of the ballots, and when we get to that one.
For
And
Main Street? Did you
yeah, we're
say
going to
that?
Main Street next. I was making sure that we.
But I don't see Talisha on Main
No,
Street.
she's not on Main
She's
Street.
not. I was just talking about.
Oh, okay.
I was making sure that she was taken off of a future ballot that
I
we're going to
gotcha.
get to,
Okay, I
because she's
gotcha.
on the committee
I
she would prefer.
apologize.
Okay, Main Street Advisory Board, we have 4 places, and we have 5 applicants, so rank them 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
The other one she applied for was PEDC, so it's already gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only, okay, okay.
Oh, you know? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you much. So.
How many?
3, 2, 1. Okay.
That was easy. So our total should add up to, we got 5, or how many points are we casting? We're casting 5.
25.
5, 5, 5. So we're casting 15 points per person. So 15 times 6, your total should add up to that as a check. And I made them do it again. We used to nail still wrong letters. The person who just screwed it up. So yeah, you gotta watch it. You'd think they'd be able to do it. I think they got confused with the numbers written on this side and that side, and they read the wrong number off, and Jean tapped it in. But I saw the number. I saw the number. One person had gotten a bunch of 3s and was not one. It was not on the board. It's not possible.
That couldn't be right.
So anyway, they're aware of that. So
Well, I wanted a chance to see Austin, because, you know, he's Texas.
you know, we actually can if you want to. I'm sorry.
Well, he got on.
Okay.
He's the 3rd generation of the family that owns Texas Furniture.
Okay. By the way, if y'all have something you want to say about any of the candidates when we introduce the next one, you're welcome to. Okay, either hopefully positive, but if you want to say something negative, you can. But I'd like to keep it positive if possible. So you're certainly welcome to. I apologize, we should have brought that up before. But the next one I want to do, so you'll be looking at it, is the Historic Preservation Commission. We have. And that changed. We had a late addition to that, so that the tally you have should include that person. But we have 8.
Glee off.
Yeah, okay.
She's a Main Street person.
Yeah.
And so the number would
Yeah,
stay the
that's
same.
correct. Glee Emmett is not, in fact, being voted on historic preservation. Okay, so there's actually only 7. So you'll start with 7 down to 1 when we get the ballots. Just. How things are coming in here. I'm glad I walked in a minute.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, I was gonna, let me, hang on for a second, let me find my list. I was gonna ask you what you thought about the people who were in
Remember when John Godwin sent us sent the council an apology about how he lost his cool? Coming to our board meetings, because he just high blood pressure anyway.
Okay, so who do you think that we should bring off? Dean Holson and Scott Avery.
I think we ought. This one right here impressed me.
Really?
I don't know, for some reason,
Okay,
in this one.
okay. Well, I'll go, because I like this guy right here. I like Tim.
Okay.
So
Let me take a look at that.
Okay, Glee Emmett and Emily Temple are on Main Street. We have a tie for third place between Tanner Dabrowski and Timothy Hernandez. Please take your ballot and vote 1 or 2 for those, 1 for 1 and 2 for your favorite and 1 for your not so favorite.
You said Dabrowski, is that right?
Yes.
Tanner.
So, yeah, okay.
Tanner and who? It's Tanner and Timothy Hernandez.
So again, number 2 for your, put a 2 by your first choice, okay? Put a 1 by your second choice. That makes sense.
Didn't help with me printing these back to front and back. See, this is the names.
And she took it. Yeah, Emily Temple.
Emily Temple and Glee Emmett are on there.
Now, if there happens to be a tie this time, we'll go back to the original ballots and what we said before, the person who got the most high-ranking points, if we can, and if we can't, if that's all right with y'all.
That's fine.
Or if we get a tie, we'll talk about it. Okay, we'll just talk about it. Hopefully, we won't have a tie.
Have we done historic preservation?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's what I
What's
want.
next? He said, didn't you?
I thought I was so organized and now they're out of order.
So I want to do historic preservation next. And again, if anybody has a comment they want to make about anybody on the,
All right, Glee Emmett got nominated on the other one, so we'll
yeah,
straight through it, right?
she wasn't even up on this. The problem was she had to reapply to Main Street, and she's the Main Street representative on HPC, but she wouldn't go off HPC, but she would no longer be the Main Street representative, as I understand it, right? So we're not actually voting on her.
And then we gotta wait on them to come back.
We got to wait on this to come
Tanner.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is a really good committee, HPC.
Good.
And they have a real hard job to do.
Yeah.
So if they have applied and have already served, they would be great candidates to put back on.
The third one is Tanner.
Okay.
Who,
Tanner,
I cannot pronounce his last name.
but who besides Tanner?
So it's going to be,
Glee Emmett, Emily Temple, and Tanner Dabrowski. I think I got that right.
on Main Street.
On Main Street. Okay, Historic Preservation Commission, if anybody has something they want to say about any of these candidates, you're certainly welcome to. And we have 7, right?
1,
Janice?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now.
Oh, thank you, yeah. So Tanner is off of this, so we actually only have 6. So draw a line through that, and we have 4 spaces.
You're right.
Well, Glee's name is not highlighted here.
Yeah, because she's not going off of it, so she's not really on
So
here.
she's not on there.
there.
Okay, 1, 2,
She's not
3,
up
4,
for.
5. 5 for 4.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 6, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, did we have a late one apply for this?
Yeah, we did. The last one on the list. Yeah, actually, this lady here.
I go to church with her, but
And she also applied for building and standards. She also applied for building and standards, which is coming up after this.
Yes, ma'am.
that on.
Yes,
See?
ma'am. Gotcha.
That's the one, okay.
Okay, so give six points to your top person and then go down from there.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, this is HPC. Okay. Do you like it this way too, better? Do you like it this way better?
I really think I do. I mean, it's a little more running for me.
You're gonna have to go to the gym tonight.
You need to send Gene out to do some running.
His hands will be back there.
Yep, seeing.
Okay, building and standards will be next.
There's only 5 applicants and 5 spots.
So, yeah, we'll just probably make a motion.
Well, that Tylisha Ross
Oh, yeah.
got on the other board.
So we would take her off.
So we have a vacancy then, right?
Did Reeves Haters came in late, and his name isn't?
No, Reeves Haters was in, it was, Andra.
And
Kim Walker
Andra Kim Walker came in late,
Came in late.
but,
Oh, I thought Reeves Hater was
So-
on building and standards.
so this is one, hopefully the rest of them will be kind of like this. We have 5 vacancies and we only have 4 applicants. A simple motion by one of us
Oh,
and a
there's
majority
Reeves
vote will put all of these people on, and then we continue and advertise for the extra place and be appointed at a future meeting. So,
I'll make a motion that the 4 people that have applied for Buildings and Standards Commission be appointed.
yeah, that would be Reeves
advertised.
Hayter, Kenneth Coles, Richard Thompson, and Andra Kim Walker.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, they're all on, and we still have 1 vacancy. We will need to advertise for that vacancy. We're going to have some more vacancies down the road, too.
Okay.
You know, we had so many people apply, and maybe they didn't apply for this committee, but they might be interested in it. I would hope
Yeah.
that they could serve the city.
Mayor, I think on Library Advisory Board, we can do the same.
I think same thing there, too.
Well, isn't Fran Neely serving on Planning and Zoning?
I'm sorry.
Neely's serving on Planning and Zoning, isn't she?
Yeah, but let's hang on to when Janice gets back, because you may be right. Which one was that? Wait.
Library Advisory Board?
Yeah. So we'll have to strike his name off, her name off. I'm sorry, I'm just not listening. Let's sit tight for a second till Janice gets back, or we're going to get ourselves in trouble.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What did you say next? Did you say next?
Airport Advisory Board.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll do it.
Trinity Frazier, you know, that works over in Janice's office. She was wanting minutes and everything. She has high blood pressure anyway, and she no longer comes to court. And John lost his temper with him. So, and for good reason, but, you know, he didn't control his temper. But he wrote council an apology.
Okay.
I mean, and frankly, I thought the board went more smoothly when only half, not even half of the board were pilots.
Yeah.
Most of us were just citizens with common sense. And they were kind of covering for the other pilots who didn't pay their rent and, knew they were subletting their hangars and stuff like that.
Who would your favorite people be on that board?
Scott's done a good job, and so has Brad. And the others I don't know, but they're all.
Brad's not reapplying. Brad's not reapplying. Brad did
Didn't
not
apply.
reapply.
Oh, that's right, he didn't. He sort of had an agenda too, I think.
I'm gonna go see. I care about
Okay, the four members for Historic Preservation Commission are Matthew Cole, Randy Hodder, Linda Vandiver, and Timothy Hernandez.
Okay, and can you strike any of those people off future ballots, Janice, or there's any need? We had, while you were gone, we already unanimously appointed the library board.
Yes, not library board.
Oh, I'm sorry, which one did we do? I'm sorry.
Board of Business.
You're right, building and standards, building and standards, I apologize. Thank you. Okay, let's keep going in order here. So we just did, which one did we just do? I'm sorry.
Oh, we were gonna talk about library board, remember, and ask her about Fran Neely?
Just did Main Street.
Okay. Okay, I guess the next, okay, then we just did,
Historic preservation, we did that one.
so which is the last one we did? I've got it all jumbled up here. What's the last one we just did? My papers are all jumbled up.
We just did historic preservation.
Historic preservation, okay. Okay. And so what do we have left?
Library board.
Library board, let's do that next.
Now, the question was Fran Neely, I thought she served on planning and zoning.
And zoning does not have a Neely.
I do not, no, she's
No.
She's not.
She's not on planning and zoning?
No.
I don't remember her being on there recently.
Really?
Unless she
Planning
was
and
fired
zoning?
last year.
No, I don't think so.
No, she wasn't on
No,
there
she's
last
not on-
year.
she's not on
She's
there.
not on there this year.
She's not, I thought she was. Planning and
So, there's
Francine Neely, it's unexpired.
3 applicants and 4 vacant positions.
Is she listed on there?
Yes,
On where?
Francine Neely.
On planning and zoning?
Planning and Zoning Commission, she's 1, 2,
Neely,
3,
Francine,
the fourth
unexpired.
one.
I didn't think she was.
I don't remember her.
Yes, I see it now.
We appointed her, yes.
I think I even talked to her
I do
and
not remember.
Yes, she's right
twisted her
here.
arm.
So
She's
she,
currently on,
Planning and
Yes.
zoning.
okay.
Till 2021.
wow.
So she can't,
you, I didn't
so she
catch
can't apply for library advisor?
No.
Okay, so we have strike, okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you. Okay, so we have 4 vacancies and we have 2 applicants. Make a motion on the library board. We put Jennifer Cullum and Stephen Hellman on the library board and we advertise for 2 more spaces.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Building and standards, let's see.
Library,
Building and standards. We've got, now, Alicia Ross has been taken off. And so we've got 4 people and we've got 5 slots. This one's easy
Building
too.
and standards.
We've
We already did
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay, my bad. Okay, like I said, I'm getting confused. I
How about
apologize.
airport board?
Airport board.
Let's go
do
there,
that.
airport advisory.
Airport
Actually, we'll have to
advisory
rank
board.
it. We'll have to rank airport.
No,
Okay, so-
nobody on there needs to be cut off though, right? Nobody else has already won another, I don't recognize any of the names for winning another spot on another board.
They're
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Good.
Anybody want to say anything about Anybody on the airport board?
Scott Avery has served as chairperson this past year and done a very good job.
Linda, thank you for catching.
Oh, sure. Well, she was one of the ones that was a very recent applicant. So we were just trying to get everything put in. Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Okay, so once again, give your 7 points to your top choice.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Board of Adjustments, traffic. You're doing airport now.
I do.
And then housing authority, you do on your own.
It's
And
much
then
more
you-
grown up than
you
pulling
can't-
names
you
out
gotta do
of
band.
a hat.
Yeah,
There's only one.
there's only one. It'll be easy too.
And
Yeah.
Steve's so right.
that's
I mean, you know,
So that's it. Traffic
your,
is,
your second or third
traffic and
choice
Board of
might not
Adjustment.
ever get considered, and this way. they
In the
do.
housing board, which I have to appoint.
Yeah.
Because of state law.
yeah.
Okay, so airport advisory is being counted. We've got some automatics here. Looks, one thing on Board of Adjustment, there's an alternate place and a vacant alternate place. So the order does matter. There's four positions. The top 2 vote getters will be placed on the board. The 3rd and 4th vote getters will be placed on the alternate, if that sounds reasonable to y'all.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think we can do this. I don't see any problem. Well, we've only got 4.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do, because William Sanders.
Yep. So we've only got 4 applicants, but the order does matter because your 3rd and 4th choice will be alternates, and your 1st and 2nd choices will be on the board.
Did we put Reeves Hayter on something already?
No, I think this is one he
Was
applied
this
for,
the
but I
one
was
that he
wondering.
wanted?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you, thank
This
you.
the one he
Well,
wanted.
we'll have to wait for Janice on this one to pass out our ballot. Let's get the tax increment reinvestment zone board. That's pretty easy. No applicants. We got a vacant spot. We need to advertise for a place. So that one's done. Traffic Commission, we've got 2 slots and 1 applicant, Michael Ellis. So I'll make a motion that we put Michael Ellis on.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, he's on. And then we'll advertise for the next place. Band Commission, we have two vacancies and 1 applicant. Same thing. I'll make a motion that we place Betsy Mills back on the Band Commission.
Second.
All in favor? Yep. And Housing Authority,
That's you.
that's me. By state law, I'm supposed to make this appointment. And let me make sure that none of these people have been knocked off.
Could I just put in a plug for somebody?
Okay.
Jenny Wilson is Executive Director of United Way, and she's very active on the Homelessness Coalition. And I think this would be a good way for her knowledge to expand with the Housing Authority.
I think Gary Savage is really in the community. He really cares about, the low housing.
You know what?
He's awesome working in the
You know what I wouldn't mind doing on this today? If y'all have some opinions on this, since by law I have to appoint, but why don't, they won't have a ballot. Why don't, I've never liked this. Why don't we have a ballot and we draw up a ballot, a referendum ballot, okay? And y'all give, then I will look at your recommendation and I'll bet you I just end up following it, okay? And I've never agreed with this. And so I think there's people that know people and people that don't know people. And, once again, I will voluntarily give up a little power here. So why don't we do that? Okay, let's hand out a ballot, or if you want to create your own ballot, flip it over and rank and write the 6 names down here, and then rank them the same way. Just write your name at the top, because your name's got to be at the top.
I do have a question also. On one applicant's resume, they said that they had served 10 years on this board.
That's Dwayne.
Is there a limit, or they're hard to get, so we'll keep the ones we've got? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if there's a term limit or not. You have to ask Janice. Well, we were talking about some people. I was kicking around the people I was planning on putting Dwayne Dangerfield on it myself. He's been 10 years on the board. He's a resident, I think, in one of the and there needs to be, I think, someone that's a resident.
Just put your top 3 on there, basically. Or we got to rank the whole thing.
If you want to do the top 3,
Rank the whole thing.
Rank the whole thing, because you don't know how it's going to work. You don't know how it's going to work. I'd rank the whole thing. Actually, I'm just going to do this right now.
Just rank beside their names then, huh?
So 6 down to 1.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, let's see. Make sure it's clear what the numbers are. And once again, we are not voting on this board because by law we can't.
Oh, well, no, you gotta give it to him then.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Give it to me.
there you
Give
go.
it to me.
I had a blank piece of paper. Look at that.
Okay. And I will take this into due consideration and come back.
Mr. Hughes, he's not retired yet. He's still at work. Don't be messing with him. Hey, we do have to meet though. What's next month? Oh, you getting out of here right before. Boy, look at you. You couldn't have picked a better day, huh? Oh, yeah. For the new people? Back on. They gonna pop, well, that's on
Disappointed
a
if we
Saturday,
didn't get
so
Reeves
Thursday,
Hayter
Friday,
on board
Saturday, and a
of
little
building
bit
and
Sunday.
standards.
They're gonna pop firecrackers on Fifth
can't
Street. Now, it's, the day after the 4th is normally a mess, but one good thing about it, the community does come together and help clean it up in the city. Rufus and Jerry would always come out, and the chief would help, and we get it all cleaned up. Last year now, he sent patrol cars up there and sat all day, so it wasn't as bad, but that's just where they pop them at. Long as it's safe, I mean.
We are gonna avoid setting up our officers.
I was so organized, and then we
Yes.
got.
I know, then we got here and Steve started this
locations
business,
and
yeah.
Mixed up the order.
Well, and then see, when mine printed front and back.
That's what I tell you.
I
So
hate these
my main thing,
iPads.
as long as
I
it's safe,
hate
they
the
pop them, they're
iPads.
gonna be.
I cannot stand
We
it.
come together, clean up the next
I'm
day.
an HP girl.
I mean,
Well,
worse,
I
it's gonna
use
take
my,
us,
I
we were
use
through
my
by lunchtime.
personal iPad
City
almost all the
brought
time,
trucks
not
up
my
and we cleaned,
desktop.
they brought the street
But for
sweepers.
this, there's so
It didn't
many
take us
times
long,
I
'cause
want
people from the city.
printed piece of paper.
Yeah. So that's the best scenario for me, and I agree with what you, but,
The Board of
just
Adjustment.
warning you about that.
Oh, did we do the Board of Adjustment
One
yet?
time, I think the only bad thing, like year
No.
before last,
No,
I don't think we have.
Car
Because we
caught
had to,
fire.
we had
there's
to.
4 vacancies
So that was the
and
only,
3
but
applications.
as
unless-
many, I
No,
mean, it was
ma'am.
probably
We didn't put,
$30,000 if I heard the pot.
there's 4, because that's Amber Kim Walker.
So,
We've got the results for the airport board. Scott Avery, Zachary Ebbs, and Bartley Jamar are on the airport board. Scott Avery, Zachary Ebbs, EBBS, and Bartley Jamar. And then I will look at y'all's recommendations.
That's it?
We're almost.
If I can have a copy of that when you're done, too, so for Candace.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna give it back to her.
So the top
Okay.
3.
I got a full study session going on over here, look at this.
I just like that a lot better. You know, I just don't see, it's just silliness, but it's a state law. So technically, I will be appointing, and plus, I don't have to do what you guys recommend. I bet I will, but,
You're so funny. So you gonna make the announcement?
Have you done yours yet?
yeah, I've turned them in. They're counting them right now for me.
Oh, I thought you were counting.
No, I was going to, and I thought, let them do it. They're getting good at this now.
They are,
So,
they?
Anybody want to drive to Rock Springs here in a minute?
How many miles is that?
It's 450.
okay, so this is it, right? We've done everything, right?
It's 8:30. It's time for my blood pressure medicine.
I already took mine.
I'm almost done with it. I'm almost pulled off of my blood pressure medicine.
Mine too, red or white?
Been on it since I was 22.
Oh, no.
My dad doesn't have blood pressure problems. My mother's side does. And she dances, and she's the most athletic human being I've ever
And
seen.
she has
75
high
years.
blood pressure.
And she has high blood pressure, and I do too. And I'm not the most athletic, and I don't work out all the time like I should. I've always had, but my cholesterol and stuff's not that bad.
I'm just standing up to stretch these knees, so.
Know it, I'm fixing to do the same thing. Well, I did. My blood pressure medicine was cut in half, and now it's fixing to get cut out completely.
With exercise? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Mayor, I said 8:30, you said 8.
You're right.
Who winning
Hey,
it?
we're not out of here yet.
I'm closer to you, though.
It hasn't been as grueling as I thought it would be, though.
Well, this does take a little while.
Yeah, it does. I think it's the right thing to do.
Next year, we won't have as long of an agenda.
I really think it's the right thing to do. I really do. I think this is the best way to do it. And
Should we have
it
the-
removes
should
the
we have
advantage of getting nominated first. You know, all that
come
stuff,
let
it's
'em
all
talk
games.
thing?
And let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that.
I guess, your application is up on the
He's pacing the floor.
What?
I'm just thinking whenever you
Board of Adjustment is separate. Now, we haven't done the board.
Well, they did.
if you did that, then the council member.
Okay, yeah, we have to do that. That's,
We only meet
Oh, is
as
that right?
needed.
and it has to, it's another one of those weird laws. We can't appoint, we have to have
Because I'm
a,
very active in a lot of
we have to have
different stuff.
a resolution
I go and talk
reappointing them.
to the students. I'm like a liaison with the president.
Louis
of the school
Hagan's
district.
spots right
So
there.
I can't, and then I'll get ready to start my counseling practice. I want to go to be,
So
you
what?
know,
Louise Haygood's
There's move
was on
around.
this board for the Board of Adjustment.
Hobbling around.
no,
Louise
I
passed
just want to
away,
get it done. Just-
December 6th.
They had her estate
was
sale this
90.
weekend.
She was up here talking
Yes,
not too
yes.
long ago.
It's
She was only
I'm actually gonna do
six
both.
weeks.
about the same
She was
time.
living at home by
My same time,
herself
they want to
at
do, I gotta
99
wait like 6
years.
months.
And
Yeah, he won't do them same time.
That's pretty stout.
But I asked.
You go to her estate.
I was gonna get it done.
Based on the recommendation of the council, I will appoint Dwayne Dangerfield, Gary Savage, and Jenny Wilson to the Housing Authority. Okay,
Sounds good.
Awesome.
all right. You can have that. And, All right, is that all the boards? And we appointed in your absence all the ones that were, that had, I guess you got the names for the minutes. It's got to be in the minutes.
And then we do Board of Adjustment.
Okay, so yes, next,
Service Commission.
item
No
number
vacancies.
26, discuss an act on a resolution appointing members to the Board of Adjustment. And I believe we just have to approve a resolution reappointing Chris Fitzgerald and Jerry Hanning to the board, and also appointing William Sanders to the board. So as I,
Did he withdraw, did he withdraw?
he withdrew.
Or
So
was it something else he had his,
We were gonna vote and rank them.
uh,
The top two vote getters got on, and the last two vote getters got on the,
so I'm sorry, so,
This was a
Got the-
confusing one because initially I gave you all a memo saying, here's 3 applicants, will you appoint them? And then we had somebody that came and put their application in. And so
Okay.
it changed everything.
so how many slots do we
Okay,
have?
We have, actually right now, we've got 1, 2,
3, 4,
we have 4.
and we have 4
Then we
applicants.
have 4 applicants.
But you just got through telling us that we had to put them in order, rank them, because the top 2
You're
vote
correct.
getters, yeah. and then
One's an alternate,
yeah.
you're correct.
There's
So we need
2,
to,
yeah.
we need to rank these.
Yeah.
Where's the, do we
William
have?
Sanders didn't withdraw?
Yes, he did, but Andrea Kim Walker was added.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you all a.
No, we have this sheet, huh, with their names on it?
Do we have it? I don't seem to have it.
Last page. The last
Yep,
page.
Board of Adjustment.
Last page, just tear it off and use it.
Okay.
I don't seem to have it.
I don't think we could have done this tonight without you there, Derek.
Okay, there we go, got it.
Yeah.
All right, the last one.
Yeah.
Last
So
page.
just rank them in order.
Okay.
Four being, we got 4 right?
Okay.
Do we have to sign our names so she knows who voted how?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to sign your name on it. That
But
last
that
one,
last one was here.
that last one wasn't necessary.
Okay. Here you go.
Sorry, go get me later.
Oh, do we have anything after this? Oh, we got to appoint who's going to serve on.
Yes, y'all have to.
We still got stuff to do after this.
It doesn't usually take y'all long, Dirk looked to volunteer.
Various boards and commissions, we've done that. Okay, we're doing that. That's it.
That's it, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, baby.
So then we just pick the committees that we want to represent. Yeah, that's good.
We could probably go on and do that. So after we finish this, we'll be at 27. Liaisons, I don't really care who, call out one. If if more than one people want it, we'll discuss it and we'll vote on it or whatever. I think you can even have more than one liaison. So
I'm giving up airport board.
giving up airport
It's
board.
up for grabs.
Who wants airport board? Nobody wants airport board.
Now, come on, I was on the board for 2 years and I
We'll give
did
it
it
to
for
the new
3.
person.
We may give it to the new person.
New person,
How
the
about that?
council member. We'll put it for the new.
Picking on them already.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and appoint band commission. I'm gonna appoint Mayor Clifford to band commission.
Well, thank you.
I was gonna do that, but thank you.
I want HPC.
Okay, HPC.
I want Main Street.
You want Main Street, okay.
I'm gonna stay with the EDC.
EDC, all right. I'll stay with planning and zoning, or do you have a preference?
Meeting after 5, like 5, I can't do any 4 o'clock meetings,
So,
but most of them are.
yeah.
Let's see.
I'll take traffic.
Tick traffic.
Then we got a new chief coming.
How many can be on EDC? Can I,
Yeah, we can have,
what time they meet though?
They meet at 5:15 on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
5:15.
And then there's some special meetings that they hold that'll be for if like there's a project going on, they may have a special
If
meeting.
you, we've had it before. If you're interested and would like to be a co-liaison, the only issue is if we could have a quorum, we just have to announce there's a possible quorum, and you need to make sure that if you're there, you don't, kind of like we had a quorum at the last meeting, but nobody obviously was discussing business.
Okay, on the Board of Adjustment, the alternate's going to be Jerry Hanning.
Okay?
And then the regular board members are Chris Fitzgerald, Reeves Hayter, and Kim Walker.
Okay. All right, do we have, let's see, on all the, did we, so P and Z is going to be me. Let's get this right.
And Band Commission.
And Band Commission. PEDC is going to be Ms. Stone and Clayton. Main Street was who?
Me.
Okay.
Wake me up.
HPC.
Me.
Okay, Linda, and I'll make sure. Library Advisory, you may or may not have a liaison. Anybody interested in serving as a liaison on the library board? Okay.
I might.
We can put you on, and if you want to
Let me see
show
when
up.
they meet.
We can put you on, and if you can show up, fine. If not,
They meet. I can't.
I don't know. And they probably don't meet very often. Building and Standards, anybody have any interest in being a liaison on that?
Well, they meet at 4.
I would like, what day do they meet?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Mondays.
Hey,
I have a conflict. I always want to go.
Okay, so we don't have one there, or we can put you on if you can make it,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fair with either.
Traffic Commission, you wanted that?
Yes, I think.
Mr. Hughes. Band Commission, yeah, I think I got that. Airport Advisory Board, we'll let the new person, whoever that is, have airport if he or she wants it. Whew. Wow. Okay, Ms. Stone was in fact correct. Okay.
So I have airport, new person, band, mayor, HBC, Councilmember Knox, Main Street, Councilmember Portugal, PDC, both Councilmember Pilgrim and Councilmember Stone, P&Z, Councilmember Mayor Clifford, traffic, Councilmember Hughes, library, Councilmember Knox, okay, and then BSC, Hughes, okay, yeah, Councilmember Hughes, okay.
I think I have a conflict.
Future events.
Congratulations on retirement.
Yeah.
When's the party?
Are we invited?
No.
The Artex Council of Government is one, and then the VCNC and the Love Civic Center. On the Artex of Government, it requires one member of the council to serve.
See, I have,
Yeah.
you send that, but do they meet like?
I think they meet, like, I want to say in Tyler or Texas.
Yeah, that's
or
what I was
somewhere.
thinking, because, yeah, because
You're
I have
welcome
been
to.
asked to do that, so.
You want
You're welcome
to?
to.
Okay.
Fine with me.
And then the VCNC requires the mayor, the city manager, and one council member.
When do they meet, please?
I'm so sorry.
I think they meet at 4 o'clock, and I don't know what day of the week, but they were one of the ones that received funding from the council, and so they're going to meet at 4 or later. But I think they meet at 4.
If it's, I will
you mean
do
find
that
it, okay.
if I find out I don't have a conflict.
Okay, and if you do, then I'll bring it back.
And conflict with Mahjong, if we ever get to play
Okay, the
again.
Love Civic Center requires a city council member serve ex officio.
When do they meet?
4 o'clock, it's on Thursdays.
The Love Civic Center, 4 o'clock on Thursdays? What do I do on Thursday?
Because I was on it, and the time, I can't do it.
I might do it.
Okay.
That might be getting kind of fun with the Thursdays.
So next time I need to bring.
Yeah, I don't have anything on Thursday. That'd be
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Okay.
Well, then I'm giving up library.
Okay. We didn't have a liaison last year for the library. I don't remember. Okay, so I got you down for that. Thank you.
All right.
Just sitting back there thinking, don't volunteer me.
Any future events we wish to discuss? Motion for adjournment.
Oh,
So moved.
Second.
yes.
All in favor?
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Yeah. See ya.
Appreciate it.
Have fun.
Be safe.